welcome, welcome. Grab this thing. There we go. Whew. Good evening, everybody. Happy Valentine's Day. I'm coming from you live from post-apocalyptic Dying Light game to read you a story. Let's see who we got here. Darby. Darby! Hi, Darby! We got Adam. So it's just Darby and Adam. Wait, I can hear myself. Am I echoey on you guys' end? Hang on. Okay. Okay, now I can't hear myself. Hopefully you can hear myself or hear me. This is I know it is a holiday for the couples, but you know, some people either don't care about it or don't have a special somebody, or just feel like, I'm gonna hang out either way. So that's what this day is. Much better? Okay, good. Miss Darby, how are you doing? It just looks like it's just the two of you guys here. Holy cow, the headless ghost got its ass kicked. Sorry, Adam. But you guys both had ghost themed ones, and I was like, oh, one of these will work out. And I felt kind of bad because another person suggested something, but I couldn't find a Kindle version of it. I don't know if it was just, if I was looking at, yeah, I don't know what was wrong with it, but I couldn't find a Kindle version. I'm gonna have to look a second time. Anyway, how is everybody? How's your holiday? Did you have a lovely holiday? I had a lovely holiday. It's a little quiet. Hold on. Let me see if... No. Me and my fiance are going out tomorrow to make up for today. You know what? I know a lot of people who have chosen to do that anyway, just because it's just too... It's just too crowded today. Everything is sold out. Everything, unless you made reservations a long time, you're gonna end up going to a Waffle House. Nobody loves me. Aw, Adam, we love you. Ooh. How's everybody's week going? Hopefully it's going well. All right. So it looks like Headless Ghost curb stomped the ghost next door, which isn't kind of isn't fair, because that the titles the Headless Ghost it sounds more interesting than a ghost living next door, the HOA. All right. You got all the Sims games? You know, I've heard they're a lot of fun. I remember watching a friend of mine play it in high school, and it looked like it was something that I would like, but I never did it, or never played them. I just kind of watched my friends or my siblings play them. It wasn't really something I was super into. But it looks like fun. I mean, some of the stuff I watch is hilarious. Why? Why is this white background? Where's my dark background? This is awful. More like the Headless Ghost tombstone the other guy. No shit, man. Hold on, let me see if I can... I don't know why I don't know why this is suddenly like a white background. How dare you change my setting when I haven't touched it? Oh crap, I don't know where it would be, so I might have to just deal with it. But it's so bright. It's so bright and hurts my eyes. Group series. None of... Hello, Devil Pork. Or Devil Punk. A ghost is a ghost, of course. Yep, of course. Well, you're just gonna see my stupid face lit up super bright then. I gotta say, I love the fact that the main screen is black light, but when it switches or black when when it switches, it's the bright ass white. Oh, where did it go? There you are. 1% in. I haven't even watched. Ugh, God. Let me just make that a little bit. Bleh. All right. So we got the headless ghost. All right, you guys ready for spooky? The ghost is Mr. Red. Horse is a horse, of course, of course. Oh, that show. They probably did not treat that horse very well. That's those shows from back in the day. They didn't have anybody. Wait, is 38? Yeah. All right, I'm gonna end the poll. Everybody, all right, I already pulled it up. We're good to go. A whole 8 people voted, so the rest of you can't complain if it wasn't something that you wanted, or if you wanted the other one. You should have voted. Okay. All right, so everybody's good. Happy Valentine's Day. We will start reading The Headless Ghost. And I apologize, by the way. It's very windy and rainy here right now. It's doing that sloshy rain wind thing. I think this is like the last bit before it starts warming up a little bit before it plummets again. It does this shit every single year. So if you hear a bunch of noise outside, that's what it is. Okay. Chapter 1. Oh, for God's sake. Stephanie Albert, or what is it? Albert Resk, shit, okay. Stephanie Albert and I haunt our neighborhood. We got the idea last Halloween. There are a lot of kids in our neighborhood, and we like to haunt them and give them a little scare. Sometimes we sneak out late at night in masks and stare into kids' windows. You're voyeurs. You're free. Damn Canadian. Seriously, it ebbs and flows in the world. We call it a bipolar weather because it can't make up its mind. Sometimes we leave rubber hands and rubber fingers on windowsills. Sometimes we hide disgusting things in mailboxes. I would like to know what disgusting things are referring to. If it's is it like dog shit or is it dead animals? Because I want to know what level of psychopath we're dealing with here. Sometimes Stephanie and I duck down behind bushes or trees and make the most frightening sounds. Animal howls and ghostly moans. Stephanie can do a terrifying werewolf howl. You guys are 12, there's no way. Stephanie Albert Wesker. This explains a lot about Wesker. And I can toss my head, or back my head, and shriek loud enough to shake the leaves on the trees. We keep most of all the kids in our neighborhood pretty frightened. So you guys are terrorizing your neighborhood. You little shits. Hi, Anthony. I had no dog in that, huh? I was fine with whatever. I'm just here for the free potato chips. Yeah, can't you hear them? They're baking right now. Sizzling. In the mornings, we catch them peeking out our doors, seeing if it's safe to come out. And at night, most of them are afraid to leave their houses alone. Stephanie and I are really proud of that. They're proud of being the worst kids in this neighborhood. During the day, we're just Stephanie Albert and Dwayne Comack, 2 normal 12-year-olds. They're always 12. But at night, we become the twin terrors of oh my God. The twin terrors of Wheeler Falls. It's always a falls in these fucking books. No one knows. No one. These fucking kids act like they're the Scream killers. Some people see us hanging out together and think we're brother and sister, but we're not. We don't even have any brothers and sisters. We don't mind one bit, though. We live across the street from one another. We walk to school together in the morning. We usually trade lunches, even though our parents both pack us peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. We're normal, totally normal, except for our late night secret hobby. How did we become the twin terrors? Well, it's sort of a long story. I'm out. I don't want to hear your stupid fucking story. Why does everyone think 12-year-olds are assholes? Well, I mean, that's like the cusp of puberty. So I mean, that's when they're starting to be kind of like little assholes. I kind of see where they're coming from. But it is, I think it's just because this is like the age group that the Goosebumps were they were going for like elementary school kids, and I think 12 is around the time or around the age you become a middle schooler. And middle schooler, when you're in elementary school, seems so old. So last Halloween was a cool, clear night. A full moon floated over the bare trees. I was standing outside Stephanie's front window in my scary Grim Reaper costume. I stood up on tippy toes trying to peek inside and check out her costume. "Hey, beat it, Dwayne, no looking," she shouted through the closed window. Oh, wait, maybe I should... I should do a Wesker for her. I was eager to see what Stephanie was going to be. Every Halloween, she comes up with something awesome. The year before, she came waddling outside inside a huge ball of green toilet paper. You guessed it, she was an iceberg. What? What do you mean I guessed it? I thought it was going to be like an eyeball or something. Yeah, I guessed it. Look at me, the Riddler over here. But this year I thought I maybe had her beat. I worked really hard on my Grim Reaper costume. I wore high platform shoes. When I read that, it just clicked in my head that he's wearing those like, Grim Reaper wearing the 60s platform heels, like an afro and one of those little like sequin vests. So high that I'd tower over Stephanie. My black hooded cape swung around along the ground. I hid my curly brown hair under a tight rubber skull cap, and I smeared my face with sick-looking makeup, the color you see on moldy bread. My dad didn't want to look at me. He said I turned his stomach. A success! I couldn't wait to make Stephanie sick. I banged my Grim Reaper sickle on Stephanie's window. "Hey, Steph, hurry up," I called. "I'm getting hungry. I want candy." Dun, 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 dun. I waited and waited. I started pacing back and forth across her front lawn, my long cape sweeping over the grass and dead leaves. "Hey, where are you?" I called again. No Stephanie. With an impatient moan, I turned back to the house, and a huge, hairy animal jumped me from behind and chewed off my head. The end. That, by the way, that's what it actually says. My Bloody Valentine, original or remake? Oh, you gotta do the remake. Ooh. You gotta be. Sorry. You gotta love the original. I like both, but I prefer the original over the sequel. I wanted to do the bone-chilling story. I hope you guys liked it. Well, that's the end of the stream. Okay. Yeah, both is, yeah. It's really tough to choose them. I like the original a bit more because, you know, I love that just campy 80s feel. But I really enjoy watching the remake. In fact, I planned on watching them today, but I got caught up with something. Yeah, exactly, the end. You remember reading it? Oh, that's the first time I think anybody said, "Hey, wait, I recognize this." Oh, shoot. Okay, so chapter 2. Okay. Well, it didn't really chew off my head. Well, why? Damn it, because this probably would have been he was a ghost the entire... That's what I was expecting it to be. But it tried to. It growled and tried to sink its gleaming fangs into my throat. I staggered back. The creature looked like an enormous black cat covered in thick black bristles. Globs of yellow goo poured from its hairy eyes and black nose. Its long pointed fangs glowed in the dark. The creature snarled again and shot out a hairy paw. "Candy! Give me your candy!" "Stephanie?" I choked out. It was Stephanie, wasn't it? The creature grabbed... Oh, jabbed its claws into my stomach in reply. That's when I recognized Stephanie's Mickey Mouse watch on the hairy wrist. Wow, Stephanie, you look awesome. You really... I didn't finish. Stephanie ducked behind the hedge and yanked me down beside her. My knees hit the sidewalk hard. Ow, are you crazy? I shrieked. What's the big deal? A group of little kids in costumes paraded by. Stephanie leapt out of the hedge. Rawr, she growled. The little kids totally freaked. They turned and started to run. 3 of them dropped their trick-or-treat bags. Stephanie scooped up the bags. Yums! Oh, so Stephanie's an asshole. I fucking hate people that steal candy from little kids. I don't care if they're also little kids. I hate them. Never happened to me, but I actually chased down somebody once when they stole my stepbrother's, or my little stepbrother's candy when I was taking him trick-or-treating. Some kid ran up behind him and yanked him, and I immediately took off, and I think the kid wasn't expecting me to chase him, so they dropped the kid. They had a fucking getaway car. The kid ran into the car, and I was like, really, for candy? That was maybe $10 for what we had. In the 3rd grade. Where to, Stephanie? All right. Oh, shit. Hold on. Let me answer this really quick. Hold on. It was a beautiful day. Oh my god. Can I not... It was a beating day. I just want to write the word beautiful. Alright. Okay, so everything's good? I probably spelled it wrong. I don't know any kids that stole candy in my neighborhood. Yeah. And he would have gotten away with it too? No. I hate that shit. I understand. If it's little kids or 12-year-olds, fine. But if you're fucking a older teenager, 15 and above, you fucking know better. You don't do that shit to little kids. Don't ruin a kid's Halloween by being a little shithead. I mean, plus you're running the risk of someone coming out of the tall grass and getting loose on you. Someone twice your age or something. Aw. Sorry, I'm getting a bunch of Happy Valentine's Day. Why I don't know why this always happens when I stream. People are like, hey, I have a feeling Jen's busy. Let me text her 8 million times. There we go. There we go. Now leave me alone. I don't want any candy. Leave me alone. Okay. Whoa, you really scared him, I said, watching the little kids run up the street. That was cool. Steffi and I started to laugh. She has a high, silly laugh that always starts me laughing too. It sounds like a chicken being tickled. I didn't say they were friends. I already told you, I proudly have no friends. I have pets. I have pets and plants. Alright. That was kind of fun, she replied. More fun than trick-or-treating. He called you ugly. Sisters, did you hear what he said? He called you ugly. I need to rewatch that movie too. So we spent the rest of the night scaring kids. We didn't get much candy, but we had a great time. I wish we could do this every night, I exclaimed as we walked home. We can, Stephanie said, grinning. It doesn't have to be Halloween to scare kids, Dwayne. Get my meaning? Pets, plants, and ghoulies. Exactly. Oh my god. The ghoulies are so cute. I love them. They're supposed to be scary, but all the time I'm like, oh. That one looks like a baby. Look how tiny the head is on that one. Let's see. Actually, when you... If you do it like Wesker, it doesn't have to be Halloween to scare kids, Dwayne. Get my meaning? You two are morons. Or you guys are idiots. That's what it is. I got her meaning. She tossed back her bristly head and let out a chicken laugh, and I laughed too. And that's how Stephanie and I started haunting our neighborhood. Wow, that easy, huh? No convincing on your part. Stephanie is so gonna get grabbed by the ghoulies. I loved that game when I was a kid. Grabbed by the Ghoulies was a great game. Late at night, the twin terrors strike up and down our neighborhood. We're everywhere. Well, almost everywhere. There's one place in our neighborhood that even Stephanie and I are afraid of. It's an old house, or old stone house on the next block. It's called Hill House. Hill House? Wow, this is gonna get real dark fast, isn't it? Oh, hi! Hi, Machete! Oh, thank you. Happy Valentine's Day. Happy Bloody Valentine's. Are you guys gonna see that Hard Eyes movie? I'm on the fence. I kind of want to watch it, but at the same time, I was like, maybe I'll wait until it goes streaming. I guess that's because it sits up on up on a high hill on Hill Street. Yeah, that's probably why it's called Hill House. I know. A lot of towns have a haunted house, but Hill House really is haunted. Stephanie and I know that for sure. That's because that's where we met the headless ghost. Oh, you just say it so nonchalant. Negative on Hard Eyes. Yeah. I get the feeling they're like, oh, it's one of the best. It's a classic in the making, blah, blah. And I was like, really? Do you remember that one stupid-ass horror movie where the guy wore the cherub mask? I can't remember what it was called. Fuck, what was that movie called? I completely forgot that movie existed until I saw a preview for Hard Eyes, and I was like, wait, that reminds me of that guy with the guy from Angel in it. It's more of a rom-com with a slasher twist. I mean, if it was like a funny, yeah, I'll wait too. If it was like Happy Death Day, I would totally go and watch it. Is it just called Valentine? God damn it! Hi, Artie. Well, I'm an idiot. The movie's terrible, but I do enjoy it too. It's a guilty pleasure. But I did forget it existed. I will admit I forgot it existed until I watched it. You watched it a few hours ago? Yeah, here's the thing. The one thing I don't like about that movie was the killer's motivation. It's like, you got picked on in middle school? Who the fuck cares? Everybody got picked on in middle school. I got beat up in middle school. Do you know how badly I care, or how much it's affected me? None. I don't even remember any of these people's names. Alright. Wait, where's my chapstick? That's been driving me crazy. I was looking around. Okay. Hello, Artie. It's very hard to remember. Shut up. Chapter 3. I just literally watched a Valentine's Day episode of Bones. Oh! That's another show I forgot. I have a gnat in my room! Oh no! Most common reason for... I mean, yeah, but they were like in their 20s when it seemed like it happened. Or were they supposed to be teenagers? It's kind of hard to tell sometimes. Hill House is the biggest tourist attraction in Wheeler Falls. Actually, it's the only one. It's a tourist attraction. Oh, well, alright. It's the only one. Maybe you've heard of Hill House. I've heard of the good Hill House. Not this piece of shit book. It's written up in a lot of books. Tour guides in creepy black uniforms give the Hill House tour every hour. Every hour? People are just lined up around the block to take a tour of this old house? They were both. I know they were both little kids but they were like adults, weren't they? By the time like the killing started, I didn't think he was a kid It was a high school dance. Still though, come on, you were in your 20s. Who cares? The guides will act really scary and tell frightening stories about the house. Some of the ghost stories give me cold shivers. Stephanie and I love to take the tour, especially with Otto. Otto is our favorite guide. Dude. Otto is big and bald and scary looking. He has tiny black eyes that seem to stare right through you. and he has a booming voice that comes from inside his huge chest. Sometimes when Otto leads us from room to room in the old house, he lowers its voice to a whisper. He talks low. We can barely hear him. Then his tiny eyes will bulge and he'll point and scream, "There's a ghost there!" Stephanie and I will always scream. Even Otto's smile is scary. Stephanie and I have taken the Hill House tour so often, we could probably be tour guides. We know all the creepy old rooms, all the places where ghosts have been spotted. Real ghosts! The kind of place we love. Do you want to know the story of Hill House? No, but I get the feeling you're going to fucking tell us anyway. Well, here's the story that Otto, Edna, and the other guides tell. Does Otto sound like the Undertaker? No need for high school revenge. Life will take care of that. I mean, just the best revenge is to go to your high school reunion. then hope, like, I mean, not all the time. Sometimes, I guess, according to stories I've read, like, people like, oh, these people were awful, and now they're like a senator. I'm like, great. They were teens played by adults during the murdery parts. Oh, okay. Well, shit, that changes. See, I haven't seen the movie in a long time, like at least a few years, but I could have sworn that it was a middle school dance that it happened at, and they were adults. They weren't teenagers. But then again, back then they had like 30-year-olds play 15-year-olds, so it's not like now where they get kind of closer to the mark. Oh goddamn, those fucking kids. Hello, little gnat. Can you move so I can read? Well, you're itty bitty. It's not like you're gonna bug me. Where did you come from? I don't know where the hell these little gnats keep coming from. It's freezing outside, and I haven't really brought anything in, but it's whatever. It's nice and warm in here, buddy. Hill House is over 200 years old, and it's been haunted practically from the day the stones were gathered to build it. Was it buried on an ancient Indian burial ground? I've seen the show, Stephanie. Yeah, exactly. Shut up. A young sea captain built the house for his new bride, but the day the big house was finished, the captain was called out to sea. His young wife moved into the huge house all alone. It was cold and dark, and the rooms and hallways seemed to stretch on forever. For months and months, she stared out of her bedroom window, the window that faced the river, waiting patiently for the captain's return. Well, there's your problem, honey. You were staring out at the river and not the goddamn ocean. I have no concept of what age is. Yeah, you kind of lose. You kind of like lose it after watching so many movies. You're like, wait, how old? I can't tell how old anybody is just by looking at them anymore. Stupid movies. Winter passed, then spring, then summer, but he never came back. The captain was lost at sea. You moved the gravestones, but you didn't move the bodies. The captain was lost at sea. 1 year after the sea captain disappeared, a ghost appeared in the halls of Hill House. The ghost of the young sea captain. He had come back from the dead, back to find his wife. Every night he floated through the long, twisted halls. He would carry a lantern and call out his wife's name. Annabelle, Annabelle. But Annabelle never answered. In her grief, she fled from the old house. She never wanted to see it again. Another family had moved in. As the years passed, many people heard the ghost's nightly calls. Annabelle, Annabelle. I wonder if he does it at a very specific time. So like, oh shit, it's 9. Bones is on. Through the twisted halls and the cold rooms of the house. Annabelle. People heard the sad, frightening calls, but no one ever saw the ghost. Then, 100 years ago, a family named Craw bought the house. The Craws had a 13-year-old boy named Andrew. Andrew was a nasty, mean-spirited boy, so he won't feel any sympathy when he gets his head lopped off. Hi, Haley. Is it Haley or Hallie? Annabelle moved into the haunted mansion. It was a lame story, Stephanie. I've been confused for a teenager despite being 30. You know, I for the longest time, I was like, maybe I just looked young for my age, but it wasn't until I was around like 25 or so getting hit on by gross people thinking I was 18. I was like, maybe it's just the media. Maybe it's just people my age playing teenagers. Then the Warrens came and defrauded the family that owned the house. Well, that's the scariest story of them all, my dude. Holly. Oh, okay. But either way, it's fine. Hi. Yeah, apologies. I tend to stop and talk in between the story. So it happens every single stream. The chat always distracts me with something that they say. Back up. Andrew was a nasty, mean-spirited boy. He delighted in playing cruel tricks on the servants. He scared them out of their wits. He once threw a cat out of a window. He was disappointed when it survived. Gee, little serial killer over here. Fucking Norman Bates. Even Andrew's own parents couldn't stand to spend time with the mean-tempered boy. He spent his days on his own, exploring the old mansion, looking for trouble he could get into. Didn't they used to send kids, like, shitty kids like that? Didn't they used to send them away? We need to stop. We stop her. It's like a riff. Okay, just so long as you know. Jenny's audiobooks are the longest for no reason. Hey! You gotta interact with your audience, okay? Otherwise, it's just me. It's just me, like, all right, chapter 1. Shut up, everybody. I'm gonna drink and then just read my book. Seriously, though, talking for several hours is not out loud. Doing voices and stuff really gets to your throat. One day, he discovered something. Hold on. He discovered a room he had never explored before. He pushed open the heavy wooden door. It let out a loud creak. Then he stepped inside. A lantern glowed dimly on a small table. The boy saw no other furniture in the large room. No one at the table. How strange, he thought. Why should I find a burning lantern in an empty room? Hey, who told this story? How did they know what this child was thinking at this point? Selects a chapter, right clicks, and has Google Voice read the. Oh God. Roses are red. Oh, I like that one, Adam. I remember that. Roses are red. Violets are blue. They'll need dental records to identify you. Yeah, I love that one. Probably the best Valentine I've ever heard. Andrew approached the lantern. As he leaned down to lower the wick, a ghost appeared. The sea captain. Over the years, the ghost had grown into an old and terrifying creature. He had long, white fingernails that curled into spirals. Why would a ghost have something like that? Do ghosts age? Because I thought the whole point is you're just kind of stuck in I thought, are we not going off of Beetlejuice rules? You just don't, you don't look the way you died? Actually, why didn't Adam and Barbara, why didn't they look like all puffy, all drowned looking? They should have been perpetually wet if you're being consistent with the rules here. Cracked black teeth poked out from between swollen dried lips, and a scraggly white beard hid the ghost's face from view. The boy stared in horror. Who are you? He stammered. The ghost didn't utter a word. He floated in the yellow lantern light, glaring hard at the boy. Who are you? What do you want? Why are you here? The boy demanded. When the ghost still didn't reply, Andrew turned and tried to put the ghost in a headlock. Hard to age when time has stopped for you. Good point. I gave up questioning that movie long ago. Before he moved 2 steps, he felt the ghost's cold breath on his neck. Andrew grabbed for the door, but the old ghost swirled around him, swirled darkly, a swirl of black smoke in the dim yellow light. No, stop! The boy screamed, let me go! The ghost's mouth gaped open, revealing a bottomless black hole. Finally, it spoke in a whisper that sounded like the scratch of dead leaves. I guess I gotta do Raws again. Now that you have seen me, you cannot leave. That sounds like scratchy leaves, right? The old ghost raised his hands to the boy's head. His icy fingers spread over Andrew's face. The hands tightened. Tightened! Do you know what happened next? His head popped off! The ghost pulled off the boy's head and hid it somewhere in the house. He's a fun ghost. The cringe. This is what happens when you die. This is what happens when they die. It's all very personal. I loved her. I wouldn't have had my little accident. Sorry, this was chapter 4, by the way. After hiding the head, hiding it away in a huge, dark mansion, the ghost of the sea captain let out a final howl that made the heavy stone walls tremble. The terrifying howl ended with a cry and a bell. Then the ghost disappeared forever, for reasons that we will never explain. But Hill House was not freed from ghosts. A new ghost now haunted the endless twisted halls. From then on, Andrew haunted the Hill House. Well, at least Andrew got a fucking name. Every night, the ghost of the poor boy searched the halls and rooms. I'm sorry, Andrew, killed animals. I don't care about this little serial killer in the making. I'm glad he got his little head at the end. Yeah, it's just false endings constantly. Looking for his missing head. All through the house, say Otto and the other tour guides, you can hear the footsteps of the headless ghost. Searching, always searching. And each of the rooms of the house now have a terrifying story of its own. Are the stories true? Well, Stephanie and I believe them, so they're not true. They're not true, because you stupid assholes know it. Nosferatu I'm watching tomorrow night. I was thinking about watching it after the stream is over, but it's probably going to be a little late for that, but I'm going to watch that tonight. And The Substance, no. I'm sorry. I know I have it in my queue. I bought it off of the Amazon Prime. I just haven't gotten around to watching it. I started it a couple weeks ago, but I was so tired when I started it. I was starting to nod off, and I was like, I don't want to fall asleep during this movie. So I was like, I'll do it some other time. I'll definitely have more free time after the end of this month, so I'll probably catch up on a lot of the horror movies and things that I'll watch, but I'll definitely let you know once I do watch it. And that's why we take the tour so often. We must have explored the old place at least 100 times. Hill House is such awesome fun. Excuse me, does it have, unless it has an arcade featuring the House of the Dead 2 machine and a roller coaster, I can't imagine it being that fun. You hate The Substance? I've heard nothing but good things about Nosferatu and The Substance. I'm looking forward to watching them, but again, I haven't found the time. At least it was fun until Stephanie had another one of her bright ideas. After Stephanie's bright idea, Hill House wasn't fun anymore. Hill House became a truly scary place. Does Hill House have cotton candy? A Carnival! Oh god. That fucking movie. Chapter 5. The trouble started a few weeks ago when Stephanie suddenly got bored. It was about 10 o'clock at night. We were out haunting the neighborhood. We did our terrifying wolf howl outside of Gina Jeffers' window. I swear to God, I would call the cops on these. It's like, you wake me up with your shitty little ow. Like, no, or I'll chase you down the street. It's like, you want to haunt me? I gotta wake up at 4 in the morning. You know how hard it is for me to get to sleep? I will call the police. I will call the police on you. Be bigger. Then we went next door to Terry Abel's house. We put some chicken bones in her mailbox, just because it's creepy to reach into your mailbox and feel bones. More like gross, because those are probably like, or what are they called? Chicken wings. Like, ooh, super scary barbecue sauce with remnants of ranch dressing on top. Fucking great. Horrifying. I guess I have a werewolf that likes takeout from the local pizza joint. Terrifying. And then we crept across the street to Ben Fuller's house. Ben was our last stop for the night. Ben is a kid in our class, and we have a special scare for him. You see, he's afraid of bugs, which makes him really easy to scare. Even though it's pretty cold out, he sleeps with his bedroom window open. So Stephanie and I like to step up to his window. Okay, and toss rubber spiders onto Ben as he sleeps. Okay, I just saw spiders. I read ahead a little bit, and I was like, Jesus, you don't know if they bite? I saw a Carnival arcade cabinet in person at a Chinese restaurant, and they went out of business. Ooh! It was a cursed arcade cabinet is what it was. The rubber spiders tickle his face. He wakes up, and he starts to scream every single time. You think he'd learn his lesson the first time and keep his window closed because a bunch of psychos live in his neighborhood. He always thinks the spiders are real. Maybe he has that 51st date memory thing where he goes to sleep and forgets the previous day. He screams and tries to scramble out of bed. He gets all tangled in his covers and thuds on the floor. Where the fuck are Stephanie and Dwayne's parents? You saw one in an arcade recently? Oh. Did you play it? Did you play it, or you just saw it in the in the arcade? Then Stephanie and I congratulate each other on a job well done, and we go home to bed. But tonight, we tossed the rubber spiders at Ben's sleeping face. Stephanie turned to me and whispered, "I just had a great idea." Huh? I started to reply, but Ben's scream interrupted me. We listened to him scream, then thud on the floor. Stephanie and I slapped each other a high five. These kids are look, I'm starting to understand why these kids do what they're doing, because it seems like the neighborhood is just that easy to scare. They're all lame. How far did you get in the game? Or how far did you get in Carnival? Then we took off running across the dark backyards, our sneakers thumping on the hard, nearly frozen ground. I hope you slip and break something, you little assholes. We stopped in front of the split oak tree in my front yard. The tree trunk was completely split in two, but Dad doesn't have time or the heart to take the tree trunk away. What's your great idea? I asked Stephanie breathlessly. Her eyes flashed darkly. I've been thinking, every time we go out to haunt the neighborhood, we scare the same old kids. It's starting to get boring. I wasn't bored, but I knew once Stephanie gets an idea, there's no stopping her. So, do you want to find some new kids to scare? I asked. No, not new kids. Something else. She began to walk around the tree, circling it. We need a new challenge. Like what? Like Ken or Ryu? It's pronounced Ryu. No, the fuck it isn't! Our scares are all kid stuff, she complained. We make spooky sounds, toss a few things inside an open window, and everyone is frightened to death. It's just too easy. You died at the freak show? What else is there to do in the suburbs? Drugs. Drugs. Do fucking drugs. Do anything except what you're doing. You goddamn kids. No, actually, don't do drugs. Stay away from drugs. Go be good kids and go to college. Don't do drugs. Make something of yourselves. Next, Stephanie dared her to do some hate crimes. Jesus. I agree, but it's funny. She ignored me. She stuck her head through the split of the tree trunk. Dwayne, what's the scariest place in Wheeler Falls? That was easy. Hill House, of course, I answered. Right, and what makes it so scary? all the ghost stories, especially the one about the boy searching for his head? Yes! Stephanie cried. All I could see was her head poking through the split oak tree. The headless ghost, she cried in a deep voice, let out a scary long laugh. What's your problem? I demanded. Are you trying to haunt me now? Me, Dwayne? Her head seemed to float in the darkness. We need to haunt Hill House, she declared in a whisper. All right. The night Stephanie bumped it up to manslaughter. Hey, they want to do the Strangers, or they want to do a remake of The Strangers or some shit. My favorite emo band. Oh. I would have to probably think on that one. Because the problem is I have a very eclectic music taste, and I don't have a particular favorite band of any genre. Like I do say that Garbage is my favorite band because I just love that band so much and all of their songs. But God, I'm trying to think. I'm actually coming up blank. I've heard Sunny Day Real Estate. I haven't heard of Silverstein. That one I don't think I've heard, or maybe I have, and I might even have one of their songs on my in my Apple Music. I would have to actually look. More like The Strangers Chapter 1 is up to Stephanie's feet. Mine and emo is From First to Last. First to Last. Okay, that one I do know. God, fuck. I'd have to actually look at my genre list and just go down and see if I can find. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm coming up blank. I've also had a lot of I'm also silver. Oh, is it? Sorry, I'm also on a medication that's making me kind of loopy. I didn't know they were. Well, I never heard of them, so of course I didn't know they were Canadian. It's mostly polka. Hey, excuse me. It is polka. It is baby metal. Thank you very much. And the little Lady Gaga sprinkled in there. Skrillex used to be part of that. Really? Wow, I'm learning all types of new shit today about bands. I had no idea he was part of an emo band. All right. I'll have to get back to you on that one, Adam. All right. Oh yeah, I love Shirley Manson is gorgeous. I love her. She was my high school girl crush. I loved her so much back then. All right, chapter 6. Excuse me? I cried. Stephanie, what are you talking about? We'll take the Hill House tour and sneak off on our own, Stephanie replied thoughtfully. I shook my head. Give me a break. Why should we do that? Stephanie's face seemed to glow, floating up by itself in the tree trunk. We'll sneak off on our own to search for the ghost's head. I stared back at her. You're kidding, right? I walked behind the tree and tugged her away from it. The floating head trick was starting to give me the creeps. No, Dwayne, I'm not kidding, she replied, shoving me away. We need a challenge. We need something new. Prowling around the neighborhood, terrifying everyone we know. That's just kid stuff. Boring. But you don't believe the story about the missing head, do you? I protested. It's just a ghost story. We can search and search, but there's not going to be a head. It's all a story they made up for tourists. Manson is one hot You know, the funny thing is, I forgot she was Scottish until I saw her in concert a number of years ago, and she started talking. I was like, holy shit, that's right, you're Scottish. Because for some reason I misremembered that she was English, and when she started, I was like, oh yeah, shit, she's Scottish. But yeah, I loved her all of the music videos for Garbage 2.0. I loved all of them. That's where the special that one, the first time I saw it, I was like, well, she's really pretty. Stephanie narrowed her eyes at me. I think you're scared, Dwayne. Huh? Me? Oh, sorry. Huh? Me? My voice got a little shrill. A cloud rolled over the moon, making my front yard even darker. A chill ran down my back. I pulled my jacket around me tighter. I'm not afraid to sneak off from the tour and search Hill House on our own, I told Stephanie. I just think it's a big waste of time. Suddenly, a bunch of cans got thrown at our heads because we're talking super loud at like 11 o'clock at night because apparently we don't have fucking school or parents that care about us. Dwayne, you're shivering, she teased, shivering with fright. I am not. It's literally snowing outside. Come on, let's go to Hill House right now. I'll show you. A grin spread over Stephanie's face. She tossed back her head and let out a long howl, a victory howl. This is gonna be the coolest thing the Twin Terrors have ever done. Shut the fuck up and try to sleep. Goddamn kids. Go and get your heads lopped off. Finally get some good night's sleep here. She dragged me up to Hill House. The whole way there, I didn't say one word. Was I afraid? Maybe a little. We climbed the steep weed-choked hill and stood before the front of the Hill House. People had tents propped up just for it to open so they could take this famous tour that's apparently the most popular thing ever, that they have tours every hour on the hour. Then Stephanie doused him with gas and dropped a match. The end. The old house looked even bigger at night, 3 stories tall, with turrets and balconies and dozens of windows, all dark and shuttered. All the houses in our neighborhood are brick or clapboard. Hill House was the only one made out of stone slabs, dark gray slabs. I always have to hold my breath when I stand close to Hill House. The stone is covered with a blanket of green moss, 200 years of it. Putrid, moldy moss that putrid, moldy moss that doesn't exactly smell like a flower garden. Excuse me, moss is amazing. It has that great, it's not mold, it doesn't smell moldy. It just smells like earth. It's a great smell. Stupid kids. Hey, get... Fucking goddamn... I never said it's featuring Nat because Nat won't leave me alone. I peered up at the round turret and stretched out to the purple sky. A gargoyle carved in stone perched at the very top. We need to bring gargoyles back. Seriously though, we need to have gargoyles again. No, Siri, shut up. That's not. No, be quiet. Stop listening to me, weirdo. My knees felt weak. The house stood in total darkness except for a single candle over the front doorway, but the tours were still going on. It's just 24 hours. These tours go... Natalie? That's great, Artie. Oh my god. The tours are still going on at 11 o'clock at night. The last tour... Oh, no, sorry. It's 10:30. The last tour left at 10:30 every night. The guy said the late tours were the best time to see a ghost. I read the sign etched in stone beside the door. Enter Hill House and your life will be changed forever. I read the sign 100 times and always thought it was funny in a courty sort of way. But tonight it gives me the creeps. Tonight was going to be different. Come on, Stephanie said, pulling me by the hand. We're going to be just in time for the next tour. The candle flickered. The heavy wooden door swung open. By itself? I don't know how, but it always does that. Automated doors in 1997 were something that this kid had never seen before. Play the theme to Gargoyles. I've been wanting to rewatch that series, but I'm worried it's not going to hold up the way it did when I was a kid, because I remember it being really dark and well written, but again, I was like 12 the last time I watched it. Are you coming or not? Stephanie demanded, stepping into the dark entryway. Coming, I gulped. We all know that image behind Jenny. Yeah, yeah. The wars have begun. Oh, the wars are so cold. But at least I got my flowers here. Wait, here and here. I got my flowers. The NECA figures, they are so nice. I have a Demona one. I really need to get back on, or I need to collect all of them, because I got the Demona one for Christmas one year. Brooklyn was always Brooklyn and Lexington were my two favorites. Lexington a little bit more than Brooklyn, but those two were my favorite characters. Brooklyn. I just remember when they're naming Brooklyn. I'm Brooklyn. Broadway. I don't know why I always remember where they're picking names. Oh shit. Okay, chapter 7. It does hold up? Oh, okay, then yeah, that's probably add that to my list of stuff to rewatch. Otto met us as we stepped inside the door. Otto always remind me of an enormous dolphin. Okay. He has a big, smooth, bald head, and he's sort of shaped like a dolphin. He must weigh like 300 pounds. What does this kid think a dolphin is? Why are they all named after locations in New York City? From what I remember, and please correct me if I'm wrong, if anybody remembers better than I did, the main human, Lisa Mazza, she was like, oh, you know, it's how we identify ourselves. You know, I'm Elisa. What are your names? Blah, blah. And like the younger ones, Brooklyn, Lexington, and Broadway, are all like, oh, I want to be these guys or these names. And the old guy, he's a curmudgeon. He's like, why the hell should I have to do that? He's like, do you have to name everything, even the river? And she goes, the river is the Hudson. He's like, fine, call me Hudson. And then they named the dog Gargoyle Bronx. Goliath was the only one that got a name, but I don't remember why they named him, because he was named back in ancient times, but I don't remember why. Why they named him. Maybe it was, I think it was like a form of respect or something. I can't. I honestly don't. I don't remember. But yeah, that's and thus closes my vague memory of the show Gargoyles from 1995. Bronx. It seems wrong. Alright, where's the where's the dolphin guide? Otto was dressed entirely in black, as always. Black shirt, black pants, black socks, black shoes, and gloves. You guessed it, black. It's the uniform that all the tour guys wear. You already said entirely. Okay. Look who's here, he called. Stephanie and Dwayne. He broke out into a wide grin. His tiny eyes flashed in the candlelight. Our favorite guide, Stephanie greeted him. Are we in time for the next tour? We pushed through the turnstile without pain. We're such regulars at Hill House, they don't even charge us anymore. About 5 more minutes, guys, Otto told us. You two are out late tonight, huh? Yeah, well, Stephanie hesitated. It's more fun to take the tour at night, isn't it, Dwayne? She jabbed my side. You can say that again, I mumbled. Is her were-dolphin? 94. Okay, nice. We moved to the front hall with some others who were waiting for the tour to begin. Teenagers mostly, out on dates. Oh, so this is just like a hot spot for dates where I mean, it's better than what teenagers could be doing, I suppose, but the front hall is bigger than my living room and dining room put together. And except for the winding staircase in the center, it's completely bare. No furniture at all. Well, how fucking boring is this tour? You can't even look at like really nice old furniture that's made all like carved all in wood, and it's really pretty, and old paintings. It's just empty. This is a boring ass tour. You got nothing to look at. Tears to Lover's Lane. Yeah, it's just... Why is there a random house museum in the suburbs? Great fucking question, Artie. Shadows tossed across the floor. I gazed around the room. No electric lights. Small torches were hung from the ceiling. Were hung from the peeling, cracked walls. The orange torchlight flickered and bent. In the dancing light, I counted the people around me. 9 of them. Stephanie and I were the only kids. Otto, they're teenagers there, so yeah, there's still kids there. Otto lighted a lantern and crossed it to the front of the hall. He held it up high and cleared his throat. Stephanie and I grinned at each other. Otto always starts the tour the same way. He thinks the lantern adds atmosphere. Hey, question, how are they supposed to sneak away if Otto knows who they are and they're the only kids? He's gonna notice they're not part of the tour anymore. This is a very flawed plan. At least get somebody new to be the tour guide. Went to a haunted house last week. I was practically holding him the whole time. Do you have a year-round haunted house where you live? I know those are a thing in a couple places. I've been to one before, and that one was really cool. But I wish they had something like that in my area. We don't have a year-round haunted house. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, he boomed, welcome to Hill House. We hope you will survive your tour tonight. Then he gave a low, evil laugh. Steffi and I mouthed Otto's next words along with him. In 1795, a prosperous sea captain, William P. Bell, built himself a home on the highest hill in Wheeler Falls. It was the finest home ever built here at the time. 3 stories high, 9 fireplaces, and over 30 rooms. Wow, there was only 2 of you people. It's in Gatlinburg. Don't know if it was all year. Oh. That sounds pretty cool. I mean, still real cool that it's. Did they have it open for? They have it open specifically for Valentine's Day. That'd be pretty funny too. Not another lame story, Stephanie. Hello, Shadows of Bosstown. Happy Valentine's Day. Captain Bell spared no expense. Why? Because he had hoped to retire here and finish his days in splendor with his young and beautiful wife. But it was not to be. You know, your wife's gonna age with you, fella. Otto cackled, and so did Stephanie and I. We knew every move Otto had. He went on. Captain Bell died at sea in a terrible shipwreck before he ever had a chance to live in his beautiful house. His young bride, Annabelle, fled the house in horror and sorrow. Now Otto's voice dropped. But soon after Annabelle left, strange things began to happen in Hill House. This was Otto's cue to start walking towards the winding stairs. The old wooden staircase is narrow and creaky. When Otto starts to climb, the stairs groan and grumble beneath him as if in pain. Keeping silent, we followed Otto up the stairs to the first floor. Stephanie and I loved this part because Otto doesn't say a word the whole time. He just huffs along in the darkness while everyone tries to keep up with him. He starts talking again when he reaches Captain Bell's bedroom, a big wooden panel room with a fireplace and the view of the river. Soon after Captain Bell's widow ran away, he reported, people in Wheeler Falls began reporting strange sightings. Sightings of a man who resembled Captain Bell. He was always seen there, standing by his window, holding his lantern aloft. Otto moved to the window and raised his lantern. On a windless night, if you listen carefully, you can sometimes hear him calling out her name in a low, mournful voice. Otto took a deep breath, then softly called, Annabelle, Annabelle. Otto swung the lantern back and forth for effect, but now he had everyone's complete attention. But of course, there's more. Chapter 8. I know about Gatlinburg tour stuff because of Carpetbagger. Is that a movie? Chapter 8. As we followed him through the upstairs rooms, Otto told us how Captain Bell haunted the house for about 100 years. People who moved into Hill House tried all kinds of ways to get rid of the ghost, but it was determined to stay. Well, turned out all he needed to do was have a shitty kid in exchange for him. Then Otto told everyone about the boy finding the ghost and getting his head pulled off. The ghost of the sea captain vanished, but the headless ghost of the boy continued to haunt the house. But that wasn't even the end of it. Into the long dark hallway now, torches darting and flickering along the walls. Tragedy continued in Hill House, Otto continued. Shortly after the young Andrew Craw's death, his 12-year-old sister Hannah went mad. Let's go to her room next. He led us down the hall to Hannah's room. Stephanie loved Hannah's room. Hannah collected porcelain dolls. Wait, there's... Okay, so some places have furniture in them. Carpetbagger is a YouTuber. Oh, okay. Cute. He screamed his ass off. Hannah collected porcelain dolls, and she had hundreds of them. All the same yellow... with all the same yellow hair, painted rosy cheeks, and blue-tinted eyelids. After her brother was killed, Hannah went crazy, Otto told us in a hushed voice. All day long, for 80 years, she sat in her rocking chair over there in the corner, and she played with her dolls. She never left her room, ever. He pointed to the old rocking chair. Hannah died there, an old lady surrounded by her dolls. Ooh, that sounds hauntingly familiar. Kind of seems how that's how I'm gonna go. But by the time they find me, all my birds have eaten my eyes out. What a good life. Ooh, sorry. This medication makes me loopy, and it gives me like cotton mouth, so I'm super thirsty all the time. Let's see. I lost my... Oh, there we go. The floorboards creaked under him as Otto crossed the room. Setting the lantern down, he lowered his big body into the rocking chair. The chair made a cracking sound. I always think Otto was going to crush it. He started to rock, slowly. The chair groaned with each movement. We all watched him in silence. Some people swear that poor Hannah's still here, he said softly. They say they've seen a young girl sitting in this chair, combing a doll's hair. He rocked slowly, letting the idea sink in. And then we come to the story of Hannah's mother. With a grunt, Otto pulled himself to his feet. He grabbed up the lantern and made his way to the top of the long, dark stairway at the end of the hall. Soon after the son's tragedy, the mother met her own terrible fate. She was on her way down these very stairs one night when she tripped and fell to her death. Otto gazed down the stairs and shook his head sadly. He does this every time. As I said, Stephanie and I know his every move, but we hadn't come here tonight to watch Otto perform. I knew that sooner or later Stephanie would want to get going. So I started glancing around to see if it was a good time for us to sneak away from the others. And that's when I saw the strange kid watching us. Jen will be haunting the building too. God, I hope not. Not this building. This building's boring. Like 60% of the condos here are empty during summertime, and the other time it's like people bring their... It's the place where people will bring their friggin' mistresses to snowboard and ski and shit. So it'll be boring. I don't want to watch 7-year-old men bang their 22-year-old mistresses. Ugh. Fucking rich people. I didn't see him when we first came in. In fact, I'm sure he wasn't there when the tour started. I had counted 9 people, no kids. The boy was about our age, with wavy blonde hair and pale skin. Very pale skin. He was wearing black jeans and a black turtleneck that made his face look even wider. I edged over to Stephanie. She was hanging back from the group. "Are you ready?" she whispered. Otto had started back down the stairs. If we were going to sneak away from the tour, now was the time. But I could see that the weird kid was still staring at us. Staring hard. He was giving me the creeps. "We can't go. Someone's watching us," I whispered to Stephanie. "Who?" "That weird kid over there," I motioned with my eyes. He was still staring at us. He didn't even try to be polite and turn away when we caught him. What a dick. What's his problem? Something told me we should wait. Something told me not to hide from the others just yet. But Stephanie had other ideas. Forget him, she said. He's a nobody. Jesus. God, Stephanie's kind of an asshole. More asshole than I originally thought. And tugged. Where? We pressed against the cold wall of the hallway and watched the others follow Otto down the stairs. I held my breath until I heard the last footsteps leave the stairway. We were alone now, alone in the long, dark hallway. I turned to Stephanie. I could barely see her face. Now what? I asked. Is that like, I like turtles, kid? Chapter 9. Now we do some exploring our own, Stephanie declared, rubbing her hands together. This is so exciting! I gazed down at the long hallway. I didn't feel real excited. I felt kind of scared. I heard a low groan from the room across the hall. The ceiling creaked above our heads. The wind rattled the windows in the room we had just come from. Steph, are you sure? I started, but she was already hurrying down the hall, walking on tiptoes to keep the floor from squeaking. Come on, Dwayne, let's go. Let's search for the ghost's head. She whispered back to me, her dark hair flying behind her. Who knows, we might find it. Yeah, sure, I rolled my eyes. I didn't think the chances were too good. How do you find a 100-year-old head? And what if you do find it? Yuck. What would it look like? Just a skull? Yes, it's 200 years old, or 100 years old. It's not going to have flesh on it. Relax, Dwayne. Dwayne the Pain. That's about as clever as a Goosebumps book deserves. I followed Stephanie down the hall, but I really didn't want to be there. I like haunting the neighborhood and scaring other people. I don't like scaring myself. I don't like it when bad stuff happens to me. I like it when bad stuff happens to other people. I like Schadenfreude. Stephanie led the way to the bedroom where we'd seen the other tours, or where we'd seen on other tours. It was called the green room because the wallpaper was decorated with green vines, tangle after tangle of green vines, up and down the walls and across the ceiling. How could anyone sleep in here, I wondered? It was like being trapped in a thick jungle. I think it sounds kind of cool. We both stopped inside the doorway and stared at the tangles of vines on all sides of us. Stephanie and I called the green room by another name, the scratching room. Otto once told us that something terrible happened here 60 years ago. The two guests who stayed in the room woke up with a disgusting purple rash. The rash started on their hands and arms, but it spread to their faces. Then it spread over their entire bodies, big purple sores that itched like crazy. Doctors from all over the world were called to study the rash. They couldn't figure out what it was, and they couldn't figure out how to cure it. Well, yeah, they gotta know what it is before they can cure it. Something about the green room caused the rash. It was asbestos! It's asbestos! That's what it was. STDs. That's the story the other guides tell. It might be true. All the weird, scary stories Otto tells might be true. Who knows? Come on, Dwayne, Stephanie prodded. Let's go look for the head. We don't have much time before Otto sees we're missing. She trotted across the room and dove under the bed. Steph, please, I started. I stepped carefully over the low wooden dresser in the corner. We're not going to find the ghost's head in there. Let's go, I pleaded. She couldn't hear me. She had climbed under the bed. The plague. Yeah, there it is, Darby. It's the plague. Steph? After a few seconds, she backed out. As she turned toward me, I saw that her face was bright red. Dwayne, she cried. Her dark eyes bulged. Her mouth dropped in horror. She grabbed the sides of her face. What is it? What's wrong? I cried. Oh, it itches. It itches so bad. Stephanie wailed. I started to cry out, but my voice got caught in my throat. Stephanie began to rub her face. She frantically rubbed her cheeks, her forehead, her chin. It really itches. She started to scratch her scalp with both hands. I grabbed her arm and tried to pull her from the floor. The rash! Let's get you home, I cried. Come on, your parents will go to the doctor and... I stopped when she started laughing. I dropped her arm and stepped back. She stood up and straightened her hair. Dwayne, you jerk, she muttered. Are you going to fall for every dumb joke tonight? Dwayne, the pain is that canon, or did you come up with it? No, I came up with it. She gave me a shove. You're too easy to scare. How could you fall for such a stupid joke? I shoved her back. Just don't pull any more dumb jokes, okay? I snarled. I mean it, Stephanie. I don't think it's funny. I really don't. I'm not going to fall for any more stupid jokes, so don't even try. She wasn't listening to me. She was staring over my shoulder. Staring back with open... really? Come on, Dwayne. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. She stammered. There it is. The head. Chapter 10. I fell for it again. I couldn't help myself. I let out a shrill scream. I spun around so hard I nearly knocked myself over. I followed Stephanie's finger and squinted hard in the direction she pointed. She was pointing at a gray clump of dust. Sucker! Sucker! She slapped me on the back and started to giggle. And then I pushed her so hard she fell down the stairs. And now she's the ghost that haunts Hill House. The end. I uttered a low growl and balled my hands into a fist. Wow, are you going to punch her? Jesus. I didn't say anything. I could feel my face burning. I knew that I was blushing. You're too easy to scare, Dwayne. Stephanie teased again. Admit it. I really hope Stephanie's the one that is the next ghost that haunts Hill House. Because I think this would be hilarious if she was the one who ended up doing that. Because she's annoying. So she might as well be the ghost that haunts the place. Let's just get back to the tour, I grumbled. No, Dwayne, this is fun. Let's try another room. Come on. When she saw that I wasn't following her, she said, I won't scare you anymore, I promise. I saw her fingers were crossed, but I followed her anyway. What choice did I have? You could leave. What, she has some blackmail on you? Why are you hanging out with this 12-year-old that you apparently don't like? Stephanie is the crooked neck woman. We crept through the narrow hall that connected us to the next room, and we found ourselves in Andrew's room. Poor headless Andrew. It still had all of his stuff in it, games and toys from 100 years ago. An old-fashioned wooden bicycle leaning against the wall. Everything... Oh, wait, no, the kid had a head. Never mind, I was like, wait, there was a kid. But that kid had a head. Before Andrew met up with the sea captain. A lantern on the dresser cast blue shadows on the wall. I didn't know if I believed the ghost story or not, but something told me that if Andrew's head were anywhere, we'd find it here, in his room, because, nobody else would have checked there. Under his old-fashioned looking canopy bed, or hidden under his dusty, faded toys. Stephanie tiptoed over to the toys. She bent down and started to move things aside. Little wooden bowling pins, an old-fashioned board game, colors all faded to brown, a set of metal toy soldiers. Check around the bed, Dwayne, she whispered. I started across the room. Stephanie, we shouldn't be touching this stuff. The tour guides never let us touch anything. Stephanie sat down on an old wooden top. Do you want to find the head or not? You really think there's a ghost head hidden in this house? Dwayne, that's not where we're going. Oh, Dwayne, that's what we're here to find, right? I sighed and stepped over to the bed. I could see there was no use arguing with Stephanie tonight. I ducked my head under the purple canopy and studied the bed. A boy actually slept in this bed, I told myself. Andrew actually slept under this quilt 100 years ago. The thought gave me chills. Ugh, somebody sleeping well during the night? Disgusting. Fish. I tried to picture the boy of my age sleeping in this heavy old bed. Go ahead, check out the bed, Stephanie instructed from across the room. I leaned over and patted the gray and brown patchwork quilt. It felt cold and smooth. I punched the pillows. They were soft and feathery. Is he just gonna punch everything? Nothing hidden in the pillowcases. Hey, idiots! I'm pretty sure that the police or whatever from 100 years ago would have been looking for the head, or would have been found way before. It's probably hidden in floorboards or in the walls or something. I was about to test the mattress when the quilt began to move. It rustled over the sheets, a soft scratchy sound, and then, as I stared in horror, the gray and brown quilt began to slide down the bed. There was no one in the bed. No one! But someone was pushing the quilt down to the bottom of the bed. Jesus Christ. I swallowed a scream. You gotta move faster, Dwayne, Stephanie said. I turned and saw her standing at the end of the bed, holding the bottom of the quilt in both hands. Jesus, this kid is easier to startle then the one, oh God, I can't, the little girl with 4 names from the Haunted Mask. I swear. Maybe they end up together and then they'll have an extra annoying child that screams at everything. We don't have all night, she declared. She pulled the quilt down farther. Nothing in the bed. Come on, let's go. A sigh escaped my lips. Stephanie had tugged down the quilt and scared me again. No ghost in the bed, no ghost pushing down the covers to climb out and grab me. Only Stephanie. At least this time she hadn't seen how frightened I was. We worked together to pull the quilt back into place. She smiled at me. This is kind of fun, she said. Oh, for sure, I agreed. I hope she couldn't see that I was still shaking. It's a lot more fun than tossing rubber spiders onto Bed Fuller's bedroom window. I like being in this house so late at night. I like sneaking off from the group. I can feel the ghosts lurking by. Mary Beth Joe. Yeah, that sounds right. You can? I stammered, glancing quickly around the room. My eye stopped at the bottom of the door of the hallway. There it sat, on the floor, wedged between the door and the wall, hidden halfway in deep shadow. The head. This time, I saw the head. Not a joke, not a cruel trick. Through the gray-black shadows, I saw the round skull, and I saw the 2 black eye sockets, empty eye sockets, 2 dark holes in the skull, staring up at me. Staring. I grabbed Stephanie's arm and started to point, but there was no need. Stephanie saw it too. I really don't know how anybody else missed it, unless it's like a part of the tour that's supposed to be to scare, but they would remember that. I was the first to move. I took a step toward the door, then another. I heard sharp gasps, someone breathing hard, close behind me. It took me a few seconds to realize it was Stephanie. Keeping my eyes on the head, I made my way to the dark corner. My heart started to pound as I bent down and reached out with it with both hands. The black socket eyes stared up at me, round, sad eyes. Sockets. No, it says, oh, okay. There's no eyes, it's sockets. My hands trembled. I started to scoop it up, but it slipped out of my hands and started to roll away. Stephanie let out a cry as the head rolled over to the floor towards her. In the orange light from the lantern, I saw her frightened expression. I saw that she was frozen there. The head rolled over the floor and bumped against her sneaker. It came to a stop inches in front of her. The empty black socket stared up at her. "Dwayne," she called, staring down at it, hands pressed together against her cheeks. I didn't really think we'd find it. I hurried back across the room. It's my turn to be it's my turn to be the brave one, I decided. My turn to show Stephanie that I'm not a wimp who's afraid of every shadow. My turn to show Stephanie. I scooped up the ghost head with both hands and raised it in front of Stephanie, and then I moved towards the lantern on the dresser top. The head felt hard, smoother than I thought. The eye sockets were deep. Stephanie stayed close by my side. Together we made our way into the orange lantern light. I let out a groan when I realized I wasn't carrying a ghost head. Stephanie groaned too when I saw what I held in my hands. This fucking book. Chapter 13. A bowling ball! I was carrying an old wooden bowling ball. The pale wood cracked and chipped. I don't believe it, Stephanie murmured, slapping her forehead. My eyes went to the wooden bowling pins lying among the Andrews toys. This must be the ball that went with those pins, I said softly. Stephanie grabbed it from me and turned it between her hands. But it only has 2 holes. Mary Beth Joe Bob Riggs. I nodded. Yeah, in those days, bowling balls only had 2 holes. My dad told me about it one day when we went bowling. Dad could never figure out what they did with their thumb. That's it. Yeah, that's it. I'm out. Stephanie stuck her fingers into the 2 holes, the eye sockets. She shook her head. I could see she was really disappointed. We could hear Otto's voice booming from somewhere downstairs. Stephanie sighed. Maybe we should go back and rejoin the tour, she suggested. She rolled the ball back into the pile of toys. No way, I exclaimed. I liked being the brave one for a change. I didn't want to quit while I was ahead. John Jacob Jingle Irishman. His name is my name, too. It's getting kind of late, Stephanie said, and we're not going to find any ghost head up here. That's because we've only explored that's because we already explored these rooms 100 times, I told her. I think we should find a room we've never explored before. She scrunched up her face, thinking hard. Dwayne, do you mean? I mean, the ghost head is probably hidden in a room the tour doesn't go through. Maybe upstairs, you know, the top floor. Stephanie's eyes grew wide. You want to sneak up to the top floor? Yeah, why not? It's probably where all the ghosts hang out, right? Jingleheimer Schmidt. Are we going to get anywhere near a camp? Oh, so the funny thing is, I was really close to adding, there's like a camp ghost, or ghost camp Goosebumps book, but I was like, that's too many ghosts. just 2 ghost things for you guys to choose from. She studied me, her eyes searching mine. I knew she was surprised by my brave idea. Of course, I didn't feel very brave at all. I just wanted to impress her. I just wanted to be the brave one for a change. Yeah, you've said that like freaking 20 times in the past chapter. I was hoping she'd say no, that she'd say, let's go back downstairs. But instead, with an excited grin spread over her face, she said, okay, let's do it. Why are you surprised? The chick is crazy. Holy shit. I don't know if you heard that. There was like a loud crack. I really hope... There's a lot of trees outside. I really hope one of them isn't going to come crashing down on the building. Right, chapter 14. So I was stuck being the brave one. We both had to be brave now. The twin terrors, I almost said towers. The twin terrors on their way up the dark, creaking stairway that led to the 3rd floor. A sign beside the stairs read, "No visitors." We stepped right past it and began climbing the stairs, side by side. I couldn't hear Otto's voice anymore. Now I could only hear the creak and squeak of the steps beneath our sneakers. They missed out saying the creak and squeak of the steps beneath our feet. I mean, that doesn't really rhyme, but it sounds like it. Was that on your end? Yeah, that loud noise. Yeah, that was on my end. Like I said, it's very windy and rainy here tonight. It's probably gonna turn snowy come morning. Let's see. Oh, where to go? And the steady thud of my heart. The air grew hot and damp as we reached the top. I squinted down the long, dark hallway. There were no lanterns, no candles. The only light came from the window at the end of the hall. Pale light from the outside that cast everything in an eerie, ghostly blue. Let's start in the first room, Stephanie suggested, whispering. She brushed her dark hair out of her face. It was so hot up here. I had sweat running down my forehead. I mopped it up with my jacket sleeve and followed Stephanie to the first room. Take your freaking jacket off! Sound like a cannon going off? Okay, so I'm glad you heard. Yeah, it's loud as hell out there. The heavy wooden door was half open. Jesus Christ. We slid in through the opening. Pale blue light washed in through the dust-caked windows. I waited for my eyes to adjust, then I squinted around the large room. Empty. Completely empty. No furniture, no sign of life or ghosts. Steph, look! I pointed to the narrow door against the far wall. Let's check it out. We crept across the bare floor. Through the dusty window, I glimpsed the full moon, high over the bare trees now. The doorway led to another room, smaller and even warmer. A steam radiator clanked against one wall. 2 old-fashioned looking couches stood facing each other in the center of the room. No other furniture. Let's keep moving, Stephanie whispered. Another narrow door led to another dark room. The rooms up here were all connected. I sneezed and sneezed again. Shh! The ghosts will hear us coming! Stephanie scolded. I can't help it. It's so dusty up here. We were in some kind of sewing room. An old sewing machine stood on a table in front of the window. A carton at my feet was filled with balls of black yarn. I bent down and pawed quickly through the balls of yarn. No head hidden in there. We stepped into the next room before we realized it was completely dark. The window was partly shuttered. Only a tiny square of gray light crept through from outside. It's raining here too. I thought the noises was my head. No shit, I thought it was outside my house. Sorry guys. I didn't mean to startle you. But I usually address it for that reason, so you're not thinking that something's going on your end. So if I hear something that's particularly loud, I'll address it so you guys aren't thinking that there's something bad happening on your end. I can't see anything, Stephanie declared. I felt her hand grasp my arm. It's too dark. Let's get out of here, Dwayne. I started to reply, but a loud thump made my breath catch in my throat. Stephanie's hand squeezed mine. Dwayne, did you make that thump? Did you make an onomatopoeia? Another thump, closer to us. No, not me. Another thump. We're not alone in here, Stephanie whispered. I took a deep breath. Who's there? Is it gonna be Otto? What the fuck are you doing up here? Who's there? I choked out. Chapter 15, by the way. Jenny can hear us through the screen. Uh-oh. It's like a Twilight Zone thing. Stephanie squeezed my arm so hard it hurt, but I made no attempt to move away. I heard soft footsteps. Ghostly footsteps. They're different from breathing people, living people footsteps. A cold chill froze the back of my neck. I clamped my jaw shut to keep my teeth from chattering. Then the yellow eyes floated towards us through the thick darkness. 4 yellow eyes! The creature had 4 eyes! A gurgling sound escaped my throat. Gurgling sound? I couldn't breathe. I couldn't move. I stared straight ahead, listening, watching. The eyes floated apart in pairs, 2 eyes moving to the right and to the left. No! I cried out when I saw more eyes, yellow eyes in the corner of the room, glinting at us from against the wall. Yellow eyes all along the floor, all around us, cat-like eyes glaring in silence at Stephanie and me as we huddled together in the center of the room. Cat-like eyes, cat's eyes, because the room was filled with cats. A shrill yowl gave him away. A long meow from the windowsill made Stephanie and me both sigh in relief. A cat brushed against my leg. Startled, I jumped aside, bumping into Stephanie, and she bumped me back. More cats meowed. Another cat brushed the back of my jean leg. Why are there those horrible yellow eyes? Why are there so many cats in this building? I think these cats are lonely. If there's like 20 of them, no, they're not. It's the Green Goblin. Do you think anyone ever comes up here? Yes, otherwise you'd be staring at 20 dead cats. Kid. I don't know, I snapped. All these yellow eyes floating around. I thought, well, I don't know what I thought. It's creepy. Let's just get out of here. For once, Stephanie didn't argue. She led the way to the door at the back of the room. All around us, cats were howling and yowling. Another one brushed my leg. Stephanie tripped over a cat. In the darkness, I saw her fall. Well, that's your first mistake. I don't even have cats, and I know that you gotta watch where you're walking because they love to walk right in front of your legs to trip your ass. The cats began to screech. Are you okay? I cried, running to help her up. The cats were howling so loud I couldn't hear her reply. We jogged to the door, pulled it open, and escaped. I closed the door behind us. There's silence now. Where are we? I whispered. I don't know, Stephanie stammered, keeping close to the wall. I moved to a tall... You think these idiots would think to bring a torch? Like a flashlight or something? Something? You're gonna be there in the middle of the night. You're gonna sneak away. You're not. These kids, if they become ghosts, they deserve it. They did not think ahead. Not even bottled water. I moved to the tall, narrow window and peered through the dusty glass. The window led out to a small balcony. The balcony jutted out from this gray shingled roof. White pale moonlight washed in through the window. I turned back to Stephanie. We're in some kind of back hallway. Yeah, thanks, genius. I never would have been able to figure that out. The long hallways seemed to stretch on forever. Maybe these rooms were used by the workers. You know, Manny the night watchman, the house cleaners, and the tour guides. The tour guides live here? I mean, that's kind of sweet. You do tours, but you get to live in this Victorian style house, and then you get to hang out with a bunch of cats on your off time. Like, win-win. Unless you're allergic to them like me. That would probably suck. I would probably be itchy all the time. Not be able to breathe through my nose. Let's go downstairs and find Otto and the tour group. I think we've done enough exploring for tonight. I agree. There must be stairs at the end of this hall. Let's go. I took 4 or 5 steps, and then I felt the ghostly hands. They brushed over my face, my neck, my body. Sticky, dry, invisible hands. The hands pushed me back as they clung to my skin. Help! Stephanie moaned. The ghosts had her in her grasp, too. Chapter 16. The ghost's flimsy hands brushed over me. I could feel the soft fingers, dry and soft as air, tighten around my skin. Stephanie's hands thrashed wildly. Beside me in the dark hall, she struggled to get free. It's a net! It's like a net. Okay, I was about to say, these idiots couldn't tell the difference between hands and a net. It's like a net, she choked out. I swiped at my face, my hair. I spun away, but the dry fingers clung to me, tightening. I realized we hadn't walked into a ghost's grasp, tugging and tearing. Jesus Christ, these kids. I don't know if this is better or worse. Frantically with both hands, we realized we had walked into cobwebs. A thick curtain of cobwebs. The blanket of sticky threads had fallen over us like fisherman's net. The more we struggled, the tighter it wrapped ourselves around. It's the tiny net! A tiny net. It's cobwebs! Of course it's cobwebs! She shot back, squirming and thrashing. What did you think it was? A ghost? I muttered. She snickered. Dwayne, I know you have a good imagination, but if you start seeing ghosts everywhere, we'll never get out of here. Stephanie thought the same thing I did. She thought she'd been grabbed by a ghost, but now she's pretending she knew all along. We stood there in the darkness, tearing the sticky threads off our faces, arms, and bodies. I let out an angry groan. I couldn't brush the stuff from my hair. I'm gonna itch forever, I wailed. I'm a 12-year-old boy. I shower like once every 4 weeks. From now on, you'll all refer to me as Betty. Yeah. I love Betty. Master Betty. I've got bad news for you, Stephanie murmured. I pulled a thick wad off my ear. Huh. Who do you think made those cobwebs? I didn't even think about it. Spiders? My arms and legs started to tingle. My back began to itch. I felt a light tingle on the back of my neck. Were there spiders crawling on me? Hundreds and hundreds of them? Forgetting the wispy strings of cobwebs, I started to run. Stephanie had the same idea. We both ran down the long hall, scratching and slapping at ourselves. Steph, next time you have a great idea, don't have a great idea. Bam. We reached the end of the hallway, still scratching as we ran. No stairway. How do we get back downstairs? Another hallway twisted to the left, low candles over the door, flickering and dancing. Shadows darted over the worn carpet like slithering animals. Come on, I pulled Stephanie's arm. We had no choice. We had to follow this hallway too. You guys aren't at least like a little bit scared that you're missing, that the stairway that you went up is suddenly gone? I think that you need to be a little more scared at that point. Long shadows ran ahead of us as if eager to get downstairs. I stopped when I heard someone laughing. Whoa! Stephanie murmured, breathing hard. Her dark eyes grew wide. We both listened hard. I heard voices inside the room at the end of the hall. The door was closed, but I couldn't make out the words. I heard a man say something. A woman laughed, and other people laughed. We caught up with the tour, I whispered. Stephanie scrunched up her face. But the tour never comes up here at the top floor, she protested. We stepped up close to the door and listened again. More laughter on the other side. A lot of people talking cheerfully all at the same time. It sounded like a party. I pressed my ear against the door. I think the tour ended and everyone's just chatting, I whispered. Stephanie scratched the back of her neck. She pulled a stringy glob of cobweb from her hair. Well, hurry, Dwayne. Open the door. Let's join them. I hope Otto doesn't ask us where we've been, I replied. I grabbed the doorknob and pushed the door open. Stephanie and I took a step inside and gasped in shock at what we saw. The room stood empty. Oh, sorry. Chapter 17. Giant spiders. The room stood empty. Empty, silent, and dark. What happened? Where is everybody? Stephanie cried. We took another step into the dark room. The floor creaked beneath us, the only sound. I don't get it, Stephanie whispered. Didn't we just hear voices in here? Lots, I said. They were laughing and talking. It really sounded like a party. A big party, Stephanie added, her eyes darting around the empty room, with tons of people. A cold chill ran down the back of my neck. I don't think we heard people, I whispered. Stephanie turned to me. Huh? Those weren't people, I croaked. They were ghosts. Her mouth dropped open. They all disappeared when we opened the door? I nodded. I think I can still feel them in here. I can feel they're probably pissed that you guys walked in on them while they're trying to get ready for their ghost orgy. Like, rude, you didn't even bother knocking. Stephanie let out a frightened squeak. Feel them? What do you mean? At that moment, a cold wind came whooshing through the room. It rushed over me cold and dry, and it chilled me to my toes. Stephanie must have felt it too. She wrapped her arms around her chest. Brr! Do you feel that breeze as a window opened? How come it got so cold in here all of a sudden? She asked. She shivered again. Her voice became tiny. We're not alone in here, are we? I don't think so, I whispered. I think we just crashed someone's party. Stephanie and I stood there feeling the cold of the room. I didn't dare move. Maybe a ghost stood right beside me. Maybe the ghosts we heard were all around us, staring at us, preparing to swoop over us. A ghost orgy hot. Stephanie? Oh, wait. Stephanie, I whispered, what if we really have crashed their party? What if we've invaded the ghost quarters? The ghost quarters! Stephanie swallowed hard. She didn't reply. Hadn't Andrew, the ghost boy, lost his head when he stumbled into ghost living quarters? Were we standing in the same living quarters? Stop saying quarters! The same room where Andrew found the ghost of the old sea captain? Stephanie, I think we should get out of here, I said softly. Now! I wanted to run. I wanted to fly down the stairs, fly out of Hill House, fly to my safe, warm home where there were no ghosts. No ghosts. We spun around and bolted for the door. Were the ghosts going to try and stop us? They can just try. I was about to say, I was like, I'll punch them into more death, but I think they're incorporeal, so it would just, my fist would just go through them. But that's how I solve all my problems, ghosts, by punching things. Now that I can't punch you, what the fuck am I supposed to do now? No. We made it back to the flickering orange light of the hallway. I pulled the door shut behind us. The stairs! Where are the stairs? Stephanie cried. We stood at the end of the hall, facing a solid wall. The flowers on the wallpaper appeared to open and close, moving in the darting candlelight. I banged both fists against the wall. How do we get out of here? How? Stephanie had already pulled open the door across the hall. I followed her inside. Oh no! Ghostly figures filled the room. It took me a few seconds to realize I was staring at sheets pulled over furniture. Jesus! These fucking kids! I know you guys have overactive imaginations, but Jesus! Chairs and couches covered with sheets. Maybe it's the ghost living room! See, when ghosts decorate, they buy fancy furniture, and then they put sheets over them, so they look like them. It's real weird. Maybe it's a ghost. Ghost living room. Stephanie didn't hear me. She already burst open the door from the far wall. I followed her into another room cluttered with large crates. The crates were piled nearly to the ceiling. Another room, and then another. My heart began to pound. My throat ached. Where did these kids stumble into Silent Hill? I felt so discouraged. See, Alyssa pulled them into Silent Hill because they were little assholes pulling pranks. And she's like, oh, you want a prank, do you? Here's the ultimate prank. And they can both do that slow clap thing. Another door, another dark, empty room. Or maybe they're in No End House. They stumbled into No End House. Hey, Steph, I whispered. I think we're going in circles. Out into the long, twisted hallway. More candles, more flowers flickering darkly on the wallpaper. We ran side by side down the hall until we came to a door I hadn't seen before. A door with a horseshoe nailed to it. Maybe it meant that our luck was about to change. Depends which way the horseshoe is facing. I sure hope so. I grabbed the knob with a trembling hand and pulled the door open. A staircase! Yes! I cried. Hildy, are you in here? No? Sorry, I thought I could hear Hildy like doing her little garbly talking. But maybe it's just from listening to this and the noise from outside and everything is making me hear things. This must be the servants' staircase, I guessed. Maybe we've been in the servants' quarters all this time. The stairway was blanketed in darkness. The stairs looked steep. I took a step down, holding onto the wall, then another. Stephanie had one hand on my shoulder. When I stepped down, she stepped down too. Another step, another. Soft thuds of our sneakers echoed into the deep hallway, or stairwell. We had taken about 10 steps when I heard footsteps coming up the stairs. Whoa, chapter 18. Stephanie bumped me hard. I shot out both hands, grabbed the wall to keep from falling down the stairs. No time to turn and run. The footsteps grew louder and heavier. Light from a flashlight swept over Stephanie, and then me. Squinting against the light, I saw a dark figure climbing up to us. So there you are, his voice boomed, echoing in the stairwell. A familiar voice. Otto! A ghost bird. Yep, it's my ghost. They're the most annoying ones. He bounced up in front of us, moving the flashlight from her face to mine. What are you two doing up here? He demanded breathlessly. We got lost, I answered quickly. We got separated from the tour. We tried to find you. Yeah, we tried, I chimed in. We were searching everywhere, but we couldn't catch up to the group. Otto lowered his flashlight. I could see his tiny dark eyes narrowing at us. He didn't believe us. I thought you two knew my tour by heart, he said, rubbing his chin. We do, Stephanie insisted. We just got turned around. We got lost. I mean, we usually go during the day. It's nighttime. It's pitch black in here, and all you have is like a candle to light a whole room. Or a whole floor, I guess. How'd you get here on the top floor? Otto demanded. Well, I started, but I couldn't think of a good answer. I turned back to Stephanie on the step above me. We heard voices up here. We thought it was you, she told Otto. It wasn't exactly a lie. We did hear voices. Otto lowered the beam of light to the stairs. Well, let's get back downstairs. No one's allowed on this floor. It's private. Sorry, Stephanie and I murmured. Watch your step, kids, Otto warned. These stairs are very steep and rickety. I'll lead you back to the group. Edna took over for me while I went to find you. Edna was our second favorite tour guide, so I'm glad she didn't come looking for us. She was old and white-haired, very pale and frail looking, especially in her black tour guide outfit. So is this just a job? It's like the Walmart greeters of this small town. It's like you retire and you get bored, so you become a tour guide for the biggest attraction of a haunted house. But she was a great storyteller. With her quivering old voice, she really made you believe every frightening story she told. Stephanie and I eagerly clumped down the stairs, following Otto. His flashlight swept in front of us as he led us out onto the second floor. We followed the long hallway, a hallway we knew very well. We stopped outside of Joseph Craw's study. Joseph was Andrew's father. I peeked inside. A bright fire blazed in the fireplace. Edna stood beside the fireplace telling the tragic story of Joseph Craw to the tour group. Stephanie and I had heard the sad story 100 times. A year after Andrew had his head cut off. Oh, I thought it was pulled off. Joseph came home late one winter night. He took off his coat, then moved to the fireplace to warm himself. No one knows how Joseph was burned up. At least that's how Otto, Edna, and the other guides tell the story. Was he pushed into the fireplace? Did he fall in? One guess was as good as another, but when the maid came to the study the next morning, she found a horrifying sight. She found two charred, blackened hands gripping the mantel, two hands holding on tightly to the marble mantelpiece. It was all was left of Joseph Craw. It was spontaneous combustion! It's a yucky story, isn't it? It gives me chills every time I hear it. As Otto led us to the study, Edna was just getting to the sickening part, the ending. Do you want to rejoin the group? Otto whispered. It's pretty late. I think we better get home, Stephanie told him. I agreed quickly. Thanks for rescuing us. We'll catch the tour again soon. Good night, children, Otto said, clicking off his flashlight. You know the way out. Actually leave the way I told you to. He hurried into the study. I started to leave, but I stopped when I saw the boy again. The pale boy with the long, with the wavy blonde hair. The boy in the black jeans and black turtleneck. He stood away from the tour group, close to the door, and he was staring at Stephanie and me again. Staring hard at us, a cold expression on his face. Come on, I whispered, grabbing Stephanie's arm. I tugged her away from the study door. We quickly found the front stairway. A few seconds later, we pushed open the front door and stepped outside. A cold wind greeted us as we started down the hill. Wisps of black cloud floated like snakes over the moon. All right. Well, that was fun, Stephanie declared. She zipped her coat up to her chin. Fun? I wasn't so sure. It was kind of scary. Stephanie grinned at me. But we weren't afraid, right? I shivered. Right. I'd like to go back and explore some more, she said. You know, maybe go back to that room with all the voices, find some real ghosts. Yeah, great, I agreed. I didn't feel like arguing with her. I felt pretty tired. She pulled a wool muffler from her coat pocket. As she swung it around her... A muffler? A wool muffler from around her neck. Is it supposed to be like a scarf? I've never heard that term before. Around her neck, one end caught on a low pine bush. Hey, she cried out. I moved to the bush and started to pull the muffler free, and that's when I heard a whisper voice. A whisper from the other side of the bush. But I heard it very clearly. Did you find my head? That's what I heard. Did you find it for me? Oh my god. I love that in Goosebumps books, just nothing happens for the first 20-something chapters. And then the last 4 chapters is when it finally kicks off. They're world building. They're world building. Chapter 19. I uttered a startled gasp and stared into the bush. Stephanie, did you hear that? I choked out. No reply. Stephanie? Steph? I spun around. She was staring at me, her mouth open in surprise. Did you hear that? I asked her again. Then I realized she wasn't staring at me. She was staring past me. I turned and saw the strange blonde boy sitting there beside the pine bush. Hey, did you whisper to us? I demanded sharply. He narrowed his pale gray eyes at me. Huh? Me? Yeah, you, I snapped. Were you trying to scare us? He shook his head. No way. You didn't whisper from behind this bush, I asked again. Oh my god, this argument. I just got out here, the boy insisted. We saw him in Jim Craw's study less than a minute ago, I told myself. How did he get out here so fast? I mean, you guys left this. I mean, if he followed you right outside at the same time, it would have been that. Whatever. Why'd you follow us? Stephanie demanded, shoving her muffler around her coat collar. The boy shrugged. Why were you staring at us? I asked, stepping up close to Stephanie. The wind howled over the hilltop. The row of pine bushes shook in the gusty wind as it shivered. Thin black clouds continued to snake their way over the pale moon. The boy wore no coat, only the black turtleneck and black jeans. The wind fluttered his long wavy hair. We saw you staring at us, Stephanie repeated. How come? How come? He shrugged again. He kept his strange gray eyes down at the ground. I saw you sneak away, he said. I wondered if if you saw anything interesting. We got lost, I told him, glancing at Stephanie. We didn't see much. What's your name? Stephanie asked. Seth, he replied. We told him our names. Do you live in Wheeler Falls? Stephanie asked. He shook his head. He kept his eyes to his shoes. No, I'm just visiting. Why would he look us in the eye? Was he just shy? Are you sure you didn't whisper something from behind that bush? I said I didn't, okay? Jesus. No way. Maybe someone was playing a joke on you. Maybe, I said. I stepped closer and kicked the bush. I didn't know what I expected, but nothing happened. You and Stephanie went exploring on your own? Seth asked. Yeah, a little, I confess. We were kind of into ghosts. In what way are you into ghosts? Seth asked. When I said that, he jerked his head up. His eyes raised. He raised his gray eyes and gazed hard at Stephanie and then at me. His face had been a blank, no life to it, no expression, but now I could see that he was really excited. Do you want to see some real ghosts? He asked, staring at us. Do you? Chapter 20. Bush. You guys. Oh, you. We are over halfway through the story. Whew. All right. Chapter 20. Seth stared at us as if challenging us. Do you want to see some real ghosts? Yeah, sure, Stephanie replied, returning his stare. What do you mean, Seth? I demanded. Have you ever seen a ghost? He nodded. Yeah, in there. He pointed with his head back to the big stone house. What? You saw a real ghost in Hill House? When? Dwayne and I have taken the tour 100 times, Stephanie told him. We've never seen any ghosts in there. He snickered. Well, of course not. Do you think the ghosts come out when the tour groups are there? They wait until the house closes. That's where the party happens, you guys. They wait until all the tourists go home. How do you know that? I asked. I snuck in, Seth replied, late one night. You what? How? I found a door around back. It was unlocked. I guess everyone forgets about it, Seth explained. I snuck into the house after it was closed and he stopped suddenly. His eyes were on the house. I turned and saw the front door open. People stepped out, fastening their coats. The last tour had ended. People were heading home. Over there, Seth whispered. We followed him from behind the pine bushes and ducked down low. The people walked past us. They were laughing and talking about the house and all the ghost stories. When they were down the hill, we stood up again. Seth brushed his long hair off his forehead, but the wind blew it right back. I sneaked in late at night when the house was dark, he repeated. Your parents let you go out so late at night? You're one to talk! It's gotta be at least 11 right now. He nodded. I crept past Manny, the night watchman. He was sound asleep, snoring away. Oh, wait. Whoops. Hold on. Your parents let you out so late at night? I asked. A strange smile crossed his lips. They didn't know, he said. The smile faded. Your parents let you two out? Stephanie laughed. Our parents don't know either. Good. Good. That means they won't know to look for you or where to look for you in the morning. Bury you in my backyard. And you really saw a ghost? I asked. He nodded, brushing his hair back again. I crept past Manny, the night watchman. He was sound asleep, snoring away. I made my way to the front of the house. I was standing at the bottom of the big staircase when I heard a laugh. A laugh? I gulped. From the top of the stairs, I backed up against the wall and I saw the ghost, a very old lady in a long dress and a black bonnet. She wore a heavy black veil over the front of her face, but I couldn't see her eyes through the veil. I could see them because they were glowing bright red, like fire. Wow, Stephanie cried. What did you do? Or what did she do? Seth turned to the house. The front door had closed. The lanterns over the door had been put out. The door stood in total darkness. The old ghost came sliding down the banisters. Wait, what? The ghost came sliding down the banister like radical dudes? The old ghost came sliding down the banister, he reported. She tossed back her head and screamed all the way down, and as she slid, her red eyes left a bright trail like the tail of a comet. Weren't you scared? I asked Seth. Didn't you try to run? What, are you fucking kidding? Seth said. That was the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. I wish I had a camera. There was no time, he replied. She came sliding down the banister right toward me, eyes blazing, screaming like some kind of crazed animal. I was pressed against the wall and I couldn't move, and when she reached the bottom, I thought she'd grab me, but she vanished, disappeared into the darkness. All that was left was the faint red glow floating in the air, the glow of her eyes. Oh, wow! Stephanie cried, believing him immediately. That's awesome, I agreed. We're both idiots. I want to sneak back in again, Seth declared, watching the house. I'll bet there are more ghosts in there, and I want to see them. Me too, Stephanie cried eagerly. Seth smiled at her. So you'll come with me? Tomorrow night? I don't want to go back in alone. It'll be much more fun if you come too. The wind swirled sharply. The black clouds rolled over the moon, covering it, shutting out its light. The old house appeared to grow darker on the hilltop perch. So you'll come with me tomorrow night? Seth asked again. Yeah, great, Stephanie told him. I can't wait. How about you, Dwayne? She turned to me. You'll come too, won't you, Dwayne? Won't you? Chapter 21. I said yes. I said I couldn't wait to see a real ghost. I said I was shivering because of the cold wind, not because I was scared. We made a plan to meet at midnight tomorrow at the back of the hill house. Then Seth hurried away, and Stephanie and I walked home. The street was dark and empty. You know, you guys should have probably asked him more questions. This random child that's so eagerly trying to get you to go back into a house after closing. I'm pretty sure he's gonna break both your ankles and keep you in the basement. Stephanie and I walked home. The street was dark and empty. Most of the house lights were out. Far in the distance, a dog howled. Stephanie and I walked quickly, leaning into the wind. We usually didn't stay out this late. Tomorrow night, we'd be out even later. I don't trust that guy, I told Stephanie as we reached her front yard. He's too weird. He wears black jeans and a turtleneck. Ugh. I expected her to agree, but she said, "You're just jealous, Twain." Jealous? Jealous? I couldn't believe she said that. Why would I be jealous? Because Seth is so brave. Because he saw a ghost and we didn't. I shook my head. Do you believe that crazy story about a ghost sliding down the banister? I think he made it up. It's a really stupid story now that I think about it. Well, Stephanie replied thoughtfully, we'll find out tomorrow night, won't we? Tomorrow night came too quickly. I had a math test in the afternoon. I don't think I did too well on it. I couldn't stop thinking about Seth and the hill house and the ghosts. After dinner, Mom cornered me in the living room. She brushed my hair and studied my face. Why do you look so tired? She asked. You have dark circles around your eyes. Maybe I'm part raccoon, I replied. That's what I always say when she tells me I have dark circles under my eyes. I think you should go to bed early tonight, Dad chimed in. Dad always thinks that everyone should go to bed early. Dad's right. Going to bed early is amazing. You get to cuddle into your bed, get all your nice and warm when it's chilly outside. You get your stuffed animals, you get to snuggle with them. And if you're not particularly all that tired, you can put something on the TV and then just fall asleep to it. It's great. I recommend it. 11 out of 10. So I went to my room at 9:30, but of course I didn't go to sleep. I read a book and listened to music, and I waited for Mom and Dad to go to bed, and then I watched the clock. Man, there was nothing to do before you had your own smartphone, huh? Mom and Dad are very heavy sleepers. You can pound and pound on their bedroom door, but they won't wake up. They once slept through a hurricane. That's the truth. Yeah, they were definitely sleeping during that hurricane. They weren't hoping that their only child would get swept away so they could go back to sleeping heavily. They didn't hear the tree that fell onto our house. Wow, I'm surprised they didn't die then. Stephanie's parents are heavy sleepers too, convenient. That's why it's so easy for the two of us to sneak out of our bedroom windows. That's why it's so easy for us to haunt the neighborhood at night. As the clock neared midnight, I wished we were going out on one of our usual haunting trips. I wished we were going to hide under Chrissy Jacob's bed and howl like wolves, and then toss rubber spiders in Ben Fuller's bed. Well, I'm sorry, Ben Fuller is kind of an idiot if he's still scared after like the 30th time. I think I would be more annoyed than scared at that point. But Stephanie had decided that was too boring. We needed excitement. We needed to go ghost hunting with a strange kid we'd never seen before. At 10 to 12, I pulled on my down coat and crept out of my bedroom window. Another cold, windy night. I felt sprinkles of frozen rain on my forehead, so I pulled up my hood. Stephanie was waiting for me at the bottom of her driveway. She had pulled her brown hair into a ponytail. Her coat was open. She wore a heavy ski sweater underneath and pulled down over her jeans. She raised her head and let out a ghostly, "Ow!" I clapped my hand over my open mouth. "You'll wake up the whole block." She laughed and backed away from me. "I'm a little excited, aren't you?" She opened her mouth in another howl. The frozen rain pattered to the ground. We hurried toward Hill House. The swirling wind scattered twigs and dead leaves as we walked. Most of the house lights had been turned off. I'm sorry, there was no way I would be out of the house that late at 12 years old. No. That is some spooky shit that I love horror movies and I love horror games. I am not about to go wandering out in the middle of the night at 12 years old. No, thank you. Possibly get murdered in a house, a haunted house. No, thank you. These kids are insane. Let's see here. A car rolled by slowly as we turned onto Hill Street. Stephanie and I ducked behind a hedge. The driver might be wondering why two kids were wandering around Wheeler Falls at midnight. I definitely would. I wondered too. We waited for the car to disappear, then we continued on our journey. Our sneakers crunched over the hard ground as we climbed the hill that led to the old haunted house. Hill House rose above us like a silent monster waiting to swallow us up. The last tour had ended. The lights were all off. Otto and Edna and the other tour guides were probably all home by now. "Come on, Dwayne, hurry," Stephanie urged. We started to run around the side of the house. Seth was probably waiting. "Wait up," I cried. I followed a narrow dirt path around to the back. Squinting in the darkness, I searched for Seth, but there was no sign of him. The backyard was cluttered with equipment of all kinds. A row of rusted metal trash cans formed a fence along one wall. A long wooden ladder lay on its side in the tall weeds. Wooden cartons and barrels and cardboard boxes were all strewn everywhere. A hand lawnmower tilted against the house. You think they would have cleaned this place up at least like a little bit in order to have tours here? You know, I've been to some tourist trap places before, and they were always taken care of to a point. They didn't have a bunch of shit all over the place that you could trip over or be like a liability. I actually really love tourist traps like that, like the spooky ones. I love those ones. Let's see here. "It's so much darker back here," Stephanie stammered. "Do you see Seth?" "I can't see anything," I replied in a whisper. "Maybe he changed his mind and he isn't coming." Stephanie started to reply, but choked a cry from the side of the house that made us both jump. I turned to see Seth stagger into view. His blonde hair was wild, flying around his face. His eyes bulged. His hands gripped his throat. "The ghost!" I cried, stumbling clumsily. "The ghost! He got me!" Or he cried. Then Seth collapsed at our feet and didn't move. Chapter 22. "Nice try, Seth," I said calmly. "Nice fall," Stephanie added. He raised his head slowly, staring at us. "I didn't fool you?" "No way," I replied. Stephanie rolled her eyes. "That's joke number 1, she told Seth. "Dwayne and I have pulled that one 1,000 times. Seth climbed to his feet and brushed off the front of his black turtleneck. Apparently this kid has... Do you think this kid only has... Well, he's probably a ghost. But if he was an actual person, do you think he just has 7 black turtlenecks and 7 pairs of black jeans and he just rotates them? "I was just trying to give you a little scare," he scowled, disappointed. "You'll have to do better than that," I told him. "Dwayne and I are experts at giving scares." "Shut up!" Stephanie added. Like, who the hell do these kids think they are? Yeah, we're the Wes Craven of Wheeler Falls, if you haven't noticed. the Wes Craven and the Del Toro of Wheeler Falls, we're terrifying. Seth straightened his hair with both hands. You two are weird, he murmured. Yeah, no shit. I brushed the cold raindrops off my eyebrows. Can we get inside? I asked impatiently. Seth led the way into the narrow door of the far side of the house. Did you two have any trouble sneaking out? He asked, whispering. No trouble, Stephanie told him. No, neither did I, he replied. He stepped up to the door and lifted the wooden latch. I took the tour again tonight, he whispered. Otto showed me some new things, some new rooms we can explore. Great, Stephanie explained. Did you promise we'll see a real ghost? It's kind of weird that they don't question, hey, we've been on the tour way more than you have, and he hasn't shown us anything new. You think if he was going to show anybody anything new, it would be us, but alright. Seth turned back to her, a strange smile spread over his face. I promise. Sorry for not talking as much. Oh no, you're fine. You're fine. I can see that there are people in the chat. I can see people that are watching. I don't expect you guys to have to constantly chat. It's fine if you just want to. Oop, where'd my mouse go? There we go. It's fine if you guys just want to. Yeah, there's 10 people here. If you just want to listen, it doesn't bother me. Like I said, this is a Valentine's Day thing for you guys. It's what you guys wanted, so I give my people what they want. Chapter 23. Seth gave the door a tug and it creaked open. We slipped inside, into total blackness, too dark to see where we were. Gee, I wonder if these idiots remembered to bring a goddamn flashlight. Too dark to see where they were, or where we were. I took a few steps into the room and bumped into Seth. Shh, he warned. Manny the night watchman is posted at the front room. He's probably asleep already, but we better stay in back. Where are we? I whispered. In one of the back rooms. Oh no! Oh no! You dumb kids have been tricked into the back rooms. I'm too scared to talk. Oh, this is a especially scary one. Let me tell you. Can we turn on a light? No, you idiot. Ghosts won't come out in the light, Seth replied. We had closed the door behind us, but a cold wind still blew at my back. I shivered. A soft rattling sound made my breath scratch in my throat. Was I starting to hear things? I pulled off my hood to hear better. Silence now. I think I know where I can find some candles, Seth whispered. You two wait here. Don't move. Oh, don't worry, I stammered. I didn't plan on going anywhere until I could see. I heard Seth move away, making soft scraping footsteps over the floor, keeping as quiet as he could. His footsteps faded into silence. Then I felt another rush of cold wind against the back of my neck. Ooh! I cried out when I heard the rattling again. A gentle rattling, like the rattling of bones. Chicken bones. Another gust of cold wind swept over me. A ghost's cold breath, I thought. My whole body shook as a chill ran down my back. This dumbass kid, you are standing in an old as hell, at least 100-year-old house. At least. 100-year-old house. It's gonna be a little cold in there. A little drafty, if you will. I also do Dead by Daylight. Oh, hi, Chris! I listen while I'm at work. It makes the day go by fast. Aw! That's always wonderful to hear. I love hearing that I'm used to get people through work, because work fucking sucks. We all have to do it, but at least I can help somebody get through faster. I also do Dead by... I noticed that you popped in Dead by Daylight. I don't know if you saw it on my screen, but I saw the little Steam thing pop up to say that you were on Dead by Daylight. I was like, Steam's narking on Darbs. Oh, where'd I go? I swallowed hard. Calm down, Dwayne. I order myself. Seth will be back any moment with some candles, then everything will be okay. I heard another jangle and a clatter of bones. Steph, did you hear that? I whispered. No reply. A cold wind tingled my neck again, and then the rattles The bones rattled. Steph, did you hear that noise? No reply. Steph? I called. She was gone. How do you know it was pitch black in there? Chapter 24. Well, that was a very short chapter, actually. Panic time! That's what it says. Panic time. My breasts became short. My breaths, not breasts, became short and fast. My heart clattered loudly, then the skeleton bones. My whole body began to shake. Stephanie, where are you? I choked out weakly. Then I saw the 2 yellow eyes moving toward me, 2 glowing eyes floating silently, gleaming with evil, coming nearer and nearer. I froze. I couldn't move. I couldn't see anything but those 2 gleaming yellow eyes. Oh! I uttered a moan as they floated closer, and I could see them more clearly, and I could see that they were candle flames. 2 candle flames moving side by side. In the soft yellow light, I saw Seth's face and Stephanie's. They carried a lighted candle in front of them. She just bailed on him while he was in the middle of talking to her, and she's like, yeah, you're boring, and Seth's kind of hot, so I'm leaving you. She's like, I'm really into the whole Swedish look, the blonde hair, blue eyes, and kind of a Swedish beatnik look. It's a very specific look, and Seth he hits all them squares. Stephanie, where were you? I cried. I thought I went with Seth. She replied calmly, the orange glow from her... Why didn't you all go then? Why'd you leave him alone in the dark? From her candle washed over me. I guess Stephanie could see how panicked I was. I'm sorry, Dwayne, she said softly. I said I was going with Seth. I thought you heard me. Something is rattling, I stammered. Bones, I think. I keep feeling a cold wind, and I keep hearing... Seth handed me a candle. Chill. Light it, he instructed. We'll look around and see what's rattling. I took the candle and raised it to his... What year is this supposed to be taking place? Because... why don't they have flashlights? Why are they using candles? Well, wait, no, Otto had a flashlight earlier. God damn it with this plot convenience bullshit. I took the candle and raised it to his, but my hand was shaking so badly it took me 5 tries to light the wick. Finally, the candle flamed to life. I gazed around in the flickering orange light. Hey, we're in the kitchen, Stephanie whispered. A cold gust of wind blew past me. Do you feel that? I cried. Seth pointed his candle flame towards the kitchen window. The window pane, it's missing. The cold air is blowing right through the hole. Oh, right. Another blast of air, and then the rattling. Do you hear it? I demanded. Stephanie giggled and pointed at the kitchen wall. In the dim light, I saw big pots and pans hanging on the wall. The wind is making them rattle, Stephanie explained. Ha ha! I uttered a feeble laugh. I knew that. I was just trying to scare you. You know, give you a thrill. I felt like a total jerk, but why should I admit that a bunch of pots on the wall nearly scared me out of my skin? Okay, no more jokes, Stephanie insisted, turning to Seth. We want to see a real ghost. Follow me, I'll show you something that Otto told me about, Seth whispered. Holding his candle in front of him, he led the way across the kitchen to the side, or to the wall beside the stove. He lowered his candle in front of the cabinet door, and then he pulled open the cabinet door and moved the candle closer so we could see the inside. Why are you showing us a kitchen cabinet? I demanded. What's scary about that? It's not a cabinet, Seth replied. It's a dumbwaiter. Watch. He reached inside and pulled a rope beside the cabinet shelf, and the shelf began to slide up. He then raised the shelf and lowered it. See? This dumbwaiter is like a little elevator. It was used to send food from the kitchen to the master bedroom upstairs. You mean for midnight snacks? I choked. Seth nodded. The cook would put food on the shelf, and then you would pull the rope, and the shelf would carry it upstairs. Why did we get rid of dumbwaiters? We should still have dumbwaiters. The story's getting good. I would love to have a dumbwaiter in my house. That sounds amazing. I can make food. Yeah, exactly. I can be in my kitchen, make myself some food, then I'll put the food up there and just pull it upstairs. And so then I'll walk upstairs and the food's there. I don't have to worry about like carrying it up to my room, and then I can have my little snacks, my bedtime snacks. Without worrying about spilling my milk and cookies all over the place. Thrills and chills, I said sarcastically. Yeah, why are you showing it to us? Stephanie demanded. Seth brought the candle up close to his face. Otto told me that this dumbwaiter's haunted. 120 years ago. How old is this house? Jesus. 120 years ago, things suddenly started to go wrong with it. Stephanie and I moved closer. I lowered my candle and examined the dumbwaiter cabinet. What went wrong? I asked. Well, Seth began softly. The cook would put food on the shelf and send it upstairs, but when the shelf reached the bedroom, the food was gone. It would be scarier if all the food was rotted, as if it had been sitting in there for like weeks. That's scarier than it just being gone, because now you just have like a dumbwaiter that's dropping the food down the little chute, or somebody living in the walls that steals shit. It disappeared between the first and second floor? Seth nodded solemnly. His gray eyes glowed in the soft candlelight. This happened several times. When the shelf reached the second floor, it was empty. The food vanished. Wow, I murmured. The cook became very frightened, Seth continued. He was afraid that the dumbwaiter had become haunted. He decided to stop using it. Oh, it's raining! Wait, did that just start? Oh, it's raining! That house is 270-year-old, older than the U.S. It's like, wait, I see a flaw in this story. He was afraid that the dumbwaiter had become haunted and decided to stop using it, and he ordered everyone on his staff to never use the dumbwaiter again. And that's the end of the story, I asked? Seth shook his head, and then something horrible happened. Stephanie's mouth dropped open. Why? What happened? Some kids were visiting the house. One of them was a boy named Jeremy. Jeremy was a real show-off, very athletic. And when he saw the dumbwaiter, he decided it'd be fun to ride it to the second floor. Oh, wow, Stephanie murmured. I felt a chill. I thought I could guess what was coming. So Jeremy squeezed into the shelf, and one of the other kids pulled the rope. Wait, what? He was athletic, but he got into the dumbwaiter, and some other kid pulled him up. Okay. Very athletic to sit in a small space. The other kid's pull. Suddenly the rope caught, and the kid couldn't get it to move up or down. Jeremy was stuck somewhere between the floors. The other kids called up to him, asking if he was okay, but Jeremy didn't reply. They started to get very worried. They tugged and tugged, but they couldn't move the rope. Then suddenly the shelf came crashing down. It's a-raining. It's raining fish. We're running. I'm gonna go out and let myself get absolutely soaking wet. That music video is a trip, man. Absolutely unhinged shit. Let's see here. Woo! A haunted dumbwaiter. Aren't you terrified, Anthony? They tugged and tugged, but they couldn't get to the rope to move. Then suddenly the shelf came crashing back down. Was Jeremy in it? I asked eagerly. Seth shook his head. There were 3 covered bowls on the shelf. The kids lifted the lid in the first bowl. One inside was Jeremy's heart still beating. They opened the second bowl. Inside were Jeremy's eyes still staring in horror. And they opened the third bowl and saw Jeremy's teeth still chattering. And then they opened the fourth bowl and it was Jeremy's hair. These are his eyes. I can't remember what the other ones. And these are his ears. God, I forgot all about that old spooky thing. Where it was like, it was spaghetti, and one was peeled grapes for the eyes. I think the teeth were Tic Tacs. I can't remember, but I remember going to like a little haunted house just for like little kids, and that was one of the things that they had. Brains. Yeah, that's what it was. Brains. What was the brains? I think it was a Jello, or I think it was like Jello mold or something like that. I can't remember. It was so long ago. I was in kindergarten when we went to that thing. The three of us stood silent in the orange glow of the candlelight. We stared at the dumbwaiter shelf. I shivered. The pots rattled against the wall. But I was no longer frightened by them. Ooh, rattling pots by wind. I raised my eyes to Seth. Do you think this story is true? Stephanie laughed. Nervous laughter. It can't be true, she said. Seth's face remained solemn. Do you believe any of Otto's stories? He asked me quietly. Well, yes, no, some. I couldn't decide. Otto swears the story's true, Seth insisted. But of course he may just be doing his job. His job is to make this house as scary as possible. Hey, who's paying these people? At least that's what... Spaghetti? Oh, okay, that's what it was in Haunt. Oh, okay. Well, shit, what was hair? Twizzlers, maybe? I can't remember. Otto is a great storyteller, Stephanie murmured, but enough stories. I want to see a real ghost. Follow me, Seth replied. His candle flame dipped low as he spun around. He led us back through the kitchen into the long, narrow room at the back. This is the old butler's pantry, he announced. All of the food for the house was stored in here. Stephanie and I stepped past him, raising our candles to see the room better. When I turned around, Seth was closing the pantry door behind us. Then I saw him turn the lock. Hey, what are you doing? I cried. Why are you locking us in here? Stephanie demanded. Chapter 25. I dropped my candle. It bounced on the hard floor and the flame went out. The candle rolled under a shelf. When I glanced back up, Stephanie was storming towards Seth. Seth, what are you doing? She demanded angrily. Unlock that door. This isn't funny. I gazed around. Well, I mean, it's not like he locked you in there and he's on the other side of the door. You're all in the same room. He's probably locking it so Manny, the security guard, doesn't catch you. Unlock that door isn't funny. I gazed around the long, narrow room. Shelves from floor to ceiling in 3 walls. No windows, no other doors to escape through. With a sharp cry, Stephanie grabbed for the door handle, but Seth moved quickly to block her way. Hey, I cried, my heart pounding. I stepped beside Stephanie. What's the big idea, Seth? His silvery eyes glowed with excitement behind his candle flame. He stared back at us without speaking. The same cold stare I had seen on his face the night before. Stephanie and I took a step back, huddling together. Sorry, guys. I played a little trick on you, he finally said. Excuse me? Stephanie cried, more angry than frightened. What kind of trick? I asked. He pushed back his long blonde hair with his free hand, and the flickering candle sent shadows dancing across his face. My name isn't Seth, he said softly, so softly I could barely hear him. But, I stammered. My name is Andrew, he said. Stephanie and I both cried out in surprise. But Andrew is the name of the ghost, Stephanie protested, and like millions of people around the world, but this is probably not a coincidence. The ghost that lost his head. I am the ghost, he said softly. A dry laugh escaped his lips, more like a cough than a laugh. I promised you a real ghost tonight. Well, here I am. He blew out the candle. He appeared to vanish with the light. He appeared to Yeah, you're in a pitch black room. My name is Stephanie. But Seth, Stephanie started. Andrew, he corrected her. My name is Andrew. My name has been Andrew for more than 100 years. Let's get out of here, I pleaded. We won't tell anyone we saw you. We won't. I can't let you go, he replied in a whisper. I remembered the story of the sea captain's ghost. When Andrew stumbled into the sea captain's room and saw the old ghost, the sea captain said the same thing to him. Now that you've seen me, I can never let you go. Wait, you lost your head, I blurted out. So you can't be Andrew, Stephanie cried. You have a head. In the dim light from Stephanie's candle, I could hear a sneer. I could see the sneer spread over Andrew's face. No, he said softly. Oh, no, 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 no. I do not have my head. This is the one that I've borrowed. Have you ever seen Return to Oz, Dwayne and Stephanie? That movie's fucking terrifying, even to adults. He raised both hands to the side of his face. Here, let me show you, he said. I don't know why I sound like Spoon there. Then he pressed his hands against his cheek and started to tug the head up from the black turtleneck. Chapter 26. No, stop! Stephanie screeched. I shut my eyes. I didn't really want to see him pull off his head. When I opened my eyes, Andrew had lowered his hands. I gazed once again around the narrow pantry. How could we escape? How could we get out of here? The ghost was blocking the only exit. Jesus. Why did you trick us? Stephanie asked Andrew. Why'd you bring us here? Why'd you lie to us? Andrew sighed. I told you, I borrowed this head. He ran one hand through the hair, then down over the cheek as if petting it. I borrowed it, but I have to return it. Stephanie and I stared at him in silence, waiting for him to continue, waiting for him to explain. I saw you last night in the tour group, he said finally, his eyes locked on me. The others couldn't see me, but I made myself visible to you. Why? I asked in a trembling voice. Because of your head, he replied. I like your head. Gross, I said. He gripped his blonde hair again. I have to return this head, Dwayne, he said calmly, coldly, so I'm going to take yours. How to get ahead in life? Maybe it's Spoon's origin story. Oh, that's funny. My name is Andrew. Really loses the frightening factor, I know. My name's Todd. Todd the ghost. Spoon's origins. He was once inside a man. Andy the ghost. He was once inside a man. Chapter 27. A frightened giggle escaped my throat. Why do people suddenly start laughing when they're terrified? I guess it's because if you don't laugh, you'll scream. Or explode or something. Trapped in that small dark room with 100-year-old ghost that wanted my head, I felt like laughing, screaming, and exploding all at once. I stared hard at Andrew, squinting in the dim light. You're kidding, right? He shook his head. His silvery eyes narrowed cold and hard. I need your head, Dwayne, he said softly. He shrugged as if apologizing. I'll pull it off quickly. It won't hurt a bit. But I need my head. That's where my ears live. I'm only going to borrow it, Andrew said. He took a step towards us. I'll return it when I find my own head. I promise. Oh, hey, transmission! I was out shopping and getting pizza. It started to snow like crazy. Oh, wow. I'm glad you got home before it started to snow. That must be scary out and about when it snows super crazy. Luckily, I don't have to worry about too much about that because I avoid that shit. It's like, oh, it's snowing super hard out. I'm calling in. I'm not driving fucking across town when it's snowing. You missed everything. I'm on chapter 27. I think there's 32 chapters in the book. It's also raining. It's raining. Go dance in the rain. Wait, if he needs to return that, wait, does he only allowed to borrow? Is it like renting a movie back in the day where you only get to rent the head for a few days and then you got to return it to the person? Is he gonna? Well, is he just gonna die? What? I'm confused. You're not cheering me up, I replied. He took another step toward us. Stephanie and I backed up a step. He took a step. We backed up a step. We didn't have much more room to back up. We were nearly to the wall of the pantry shelves. Suddenly, Stephanie spoke up. We'll find your head, she offered. Her voice shook. I turned to her. I'd never seen her scared before. Knowing that Stephanie was scared made me even more scared. For sure, I croaked. We'll find your real head. We'll search all night. I know this house really well. I'm sure we can find it if you give us a chance. He got it from Headbuster. Ah! Oh, and happy Valentine's Day transmission. He stared back at us without replying. I wanted to get down on my knees and beg him to give us a chance, but I was afraid if I got down on my knees, he'd pull off my head. We'll find it, Andrew. I know we will, Stephanie insisted. He shook his head, his borrowed head. There's no way, he murmured sadly. How long I have been searching this house. For more than 100 years. More than 100 years I've searched every hall, every room, every closet. He took another step closer. His eyes were locked on my head. I knew he was studying it, thinking about how it would look on his shoulders. I really need to grow out your hair. Not a fan of this short buzz cut you got going, Drew. Or Dwayne. All these years I haven't found my head, Andrew continued. So what makes you think you can find it tonight? Well, maybe we'll get lucky, I declared. Lame. How lame can you get? That's in the book, by the way. That's not my commentary. Sorry, Andrew murmured. I need your head. We're wasting time. Just give us a chance, I cried. He took a step closer. He was studying my hair now, probably deciding he should let it grow longer. I fucking called it. I called it. Walk me through the ghost head logistics here. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Again, is it like, the Jason Goes to Hell where the head starts to rot after a little while? Why does he just get a pumpkin? Like the Headless Horseman? I mean, that rots too, but then you don't gotta kill somebody. And why do you need a head to begin with? Well, I mean, you're a ghost at this point. You need a head when you're alive, but you're a ghost now. It's not like you need to eat ghost cereal and drink ghost milk. You don't really need your mouth or your eye. You seem to be doing pretty well without a real head. It was no use. His eyes were glassy now. He reached out both hands and took another step. Stephanie and I backed up. Give me your head, Dwayne, the ghost whispered. My back bumped into the shelf in the wall behind me. I need your head. Stephanie and I huddled close and pressed our backs against the shelves. The ghost floated closer, hands outstretched. We pressed ourselves tighter against the shelves. My elbows bumped something hard. I heard some heavy objects fall from the shelf. I need your head, Dwayne. He clenched and unclenched his hands. 2 more steps and he'll be close enough to grab me. I heard creaking sound. The shelf started to slide. I stumbled back and realized the whole wall was sliding. What's happening? I stammered. The ghost reached for my head. Gotcha. I thought Seth was just fucking with him. Do you kill a pumpkin to get a pumpkin head? Oh, a turnip head. Oh, that's even better. That's even better. So, sorry, something just occurred to me too. So the kid that he stole the head from, is that kid also a ghost looking for a head? So it's like this weird thing where they just keep like switching heads, or is the kid like in some type of frozen, like oh my god, Han Solo thing where he's like, I just need to borrow your head for a little while and you can get it back in like 7 days. Going on the Ring Samara rules. And then or I don't understand how this works. I need some more explanations here. Either Ghost Riders or R.L. Stine. I don't know who wrote this. The ghost leapt at me, hands outstretched. Oh, it's chapter 28, by the way. I ducked and stumbled back as the wall slid away. The wall made a grinding sound as it slowly spun around. Stephanie and I fell on the hard floor. I pulled her up quickly as Andrew made another wild grab for my head. A tunnel! I shouted over the grinding wall. Aren't ghosts incorporeal? Can't you just go through walls and shit? I feel like he would have found this. I pulled Stephanie into the opening and we squeezed inside. We found ourselves in a long, low passageway, some kind of tunnel hidden behind the sliding wall. I'd always heard about old houses that had secret halls and hidden rooms built in them. I never thought I'd be so glad to find one. Stephanie and I started to run. Our footsteps echoed loudly on the concrete floor. We ran past bare concrete walls, cracked and pitted by time. We had to stoop as we ran. The ceiling wasn't as tall as we were. Apparently people were much shorter back then. Stephanie slowed down to glance back. Is he following us? Just keep running, I cried. This tunnel has got to lead out of here, or it's a dead end. It's got to. I can't see where it leads, she replied breathlessly. The low tunnel stretched out into a straight line. I could see only darkness at the end. Did it stretch on forever? If it did, I'd keep running forever. I didn't plan on stopping until I was safely outside. I mean, Seth was outside. What's going to stop him from chasing you home? A broccoli head. Probably feels weird to go through stuff for ghosts. Probably gross. Yeah, probably real gross. And once I was outside, I planned to never visit Hill House again. I planned to stay away from ghosts and keep my head on my shoulders where it belonged. Big plans, but plans don't always work out. Stephanie and I both cried out as we nearly crashed into a solid concrete wall. The tunnel ended. It just ended. It doesn't go anywhere, I gasped, breathing hard. I pounded both fists against the wall. Who built a secret tunnel that leads nowhere? You idiots from 100-something years ago. Pull on the wall, Stephanie cried. Let's both push. Maybe this wall slides open too. We turned and leaned our shoulders into the wall and pushed and groaned and gasped with all of our strength. I was still pushing when I heard the scraping footsteps moving toward us down the tunnel. Andrew, push, Stephanie screamed. We shoved ourselves against the wall. I glanced back and saw Andrew jogging slowly, steadily towards us. A jogging ghost. Man, R.L. Stine certainly knows how to set up a scary scene. We're trapped, Stephanie moaned, collapsed against the wall with a sigh. Andrew came trotting closer. Dwayne, I want your head, he called. His voice echoing against the concrete walls. Trapped, Stephanie choked. Maybe not, I choked out. I pointed into the dark corner. A ladder! Stephanie leapt to her feet. She squinted at the ladder. A metal ladder. The rungs blanketed with dust. It led straight up the wall through a small square opening in the low ceiling. To where? Give me your head, the ghost called. I grabbed the sides of the metal ladder and raised a foot onto the first rung and peered straight up into thick blackness. I couldn't see a thing up there. Dwayne, I whispered, Stephanie whispered, we don't know where it leads. Well, I'm pretty sure wherever it leads, it's probably better than being chased by a 12-year-old headless ghost trying to kill your friend. Just saying. Doesn't matter, I replied, and started to climb. We don't have a choice, do we? Chapter 29. Hi, Frey. Sorry, I don't know why my voice was so high-pitched there. Hi, Fright Fiend. How are you doing? I'm sorry you're coming in super late, but happy Valentine's Day. We're at chapter 29, and I think there's 32 chapters in this book. I think they're between 30 to 34 chapters, if I recall. Chapter 29. Where are you going, Dwayne? I need your head! I ignored the ghost shouts because it was starting to get a little annoying and repetitive, and scrambled up the ladder. Stephanie kept bumping into me from behind. My sneakers slipped on the thick dust. My hands slid over the cold metal railings. Dwayne, you can't get away! Andrew called from down below. Straight up. Oh! I was like, straight up? He's saying straight up the ladder. Stephanie and I, breathing hard, climbing frantically as fast as we could. Straight up. Stop saying straight up until the ladder started to tilt. No! I uttered a scream as it spilled forward. A crumbling, crackling noise drowned out my scream. It took me a few seconds to realize that the wall was breaking apart, crumbling into powdery chunks, and we were falling. I heard Stephanie scream. I grabbed the metal railings with both hands and held on tight, but the ladder was sailing down now, tumbling over the cracking, crumbling old wall. Ow! I landed hard. This is ow. Bounced once, bounced twice. My hands flew up and I was tossed off the ladder. I rolled onto my stomach, rolled into the chunks of dirt and concrete of the broken wall. Stephanie landed on her knees. She shook her head dazed. Chunks of the wall spilled all around us. Stephanie's hair was covered in dust. I shielded my eyes and waited for the wall to come crumbling down. When I opened my eyes, Andrew stood above me. His hands were balled into fists. His mouth hung open, and he was staring past me. I struggled to my feet, turned to see what he was staring at. "A hidden room!" Stephanie cried, moving beside me. "A room behind an old wall!" Slipping over the chunks of broken concrete, I took a few steps closer to the room, and I guess they just forgot about the dude that's chasing them. I know it's almost over, but I need to make... Aw, I was trying to be a little quicker so you'd make it to the end, Adam. But at least you'll be able to see it later on. Good night. Straight up Goosebumps horror. I don't believe it. We found it. We actually found it. Oh, wait, sorry. And saw what Andrew was staring at. A head. A boy's head lying on the floor in the floor of the hidden room. I don't believe it, Stephanie gasped. We found it. We actually found it. I swallowed hard. I took a careful step forward. I bet the kid who Andrew stole the head from now feels a little stupid, huh? The head was pale, shimmering white, even in the dim light. I could see clearly that it was the boy's head, but the long wavy hair had turned white. The round eyes glowed green, sparkling like emeralds in the shimmering pale face. "The ghost head," I whispered. I turned back to Andrew. "Your head! We found it for you! See? We said we'd find it for you. Now you don't need mine." I expected to see a smile on his face. I expected him to shout or to jump for joy. For 100 years he had waited for this happy moment, but now his long search was over. But to my shock, Andrew's face was twisted in horror. He wasn't even looking at his long-lost head. He stared above it. As he stared, his entire body began to quiver. Frightened cries escaped his lips. "Andrew, what's your problem?" I demand. The fuck's up with you, man? I don't think he even heard me. He stared up at the ceiling, trembling. His hands balled into tight fists at his side. Then slowly he raised one hand and pointed. "No!" he moaned. "Oh, no!" I turned to see what had frightened him. Turned in time to see a flimmy? I think it's supposed to say flimsy figure floating down from the ceiling. At first I thought it was a thin window curtain falling from above. But as it curled slowly, softly to the floor, I saw that it had arms and legs. I could see right through it. The air around us suddenly grew cold. "It's a ghost!" Stephanie cried, grabbing my arm. "Another ghost! That we've already seen a ghost, so I don't know why we're particularly scared of this one." The ghost landed, or chapter 30. The ghost landed softly, silently onto the floor of the hidden room, raising his arms like bird wings. Stephanie and I both gasped as it raised its arms and stood upright. It was short and very thin. It wore baggy, old-fashioned looking pants and a long-sleeved shirt with a high collar. A high collar. A collar and no head. The ghost had no head. I felt a burst of cold air as it bent down, shimmering, bending, as if it made of soft gauze. It reached down and lifted the head off the floor, lifted the head to a stiff, tall collar. Gently pressed the head into place, and as the head touched the ghostly, gauzy neck, the green eyes flashed, the cheeks twitched, the pale white eyebrows arched up and down, and then the mouth moved. The ghost turned to us, to Stephanie and me. The lips moved in a silent, "Thank you." And then the arms rose in the air, its green eyes still on us, and the ghost floated up into the air, lighter than air. It floated silently up. I watched in amazement, my heart pounding, until the ghostly figure vanished into the darkness. And then Stephanie and I both turned to Andrew at the same time. We had just seen the headless ghost. We had just seen Andrew, the boy from 100 years ago. We had just watched him collect his head. But the boy who claimed to be Andrew was still there. He stood behind us, still trembling, his eyes wide, staring into the hidden room, making soft swallowing sounds. I narrowed my eyes at him. "If you aren't Andrew," I started. "If you aren't the headless ghost, then who are you?" "It was just some stupid asshole pulling a trick on you." Chapter 31. Stephanie turned to the boy. "Yeah, who are you?" she asked angrily. "If you're not the headless ghost, then why'd you chase us?" I demanded. The boy raised both hands as if surrendering, then he started to back away. He'd only gone 2 or 3 steps when we heard footsteps coming down the long tunnel. I turned to Stephanie. Another ghost? Who's there? Who's there? A deep voice boomed. I saw a circle of light from a flashlight sweeping over the tunnel. Who is there? Who is there? The voice repeated. I recognized the deep voice. Otto! Well, shit. Back here, the boy called softly. Seth, is that you? A circle of light floated closer. Otto appeared behind it, squinting at us. What's going on? What are you doing back here? This part of the house is dangerous. It's all falling apart. Well, it's the best place, or, you know, it's the best place to have tours and shit when part of the house is falling apart. Adam's got a hot date tonight for Valentine's. Ah, transmission. Well, we were exploring, Seth started, and we got lost. It really wasn't our fault. Otto gazed at Seth sternly, then his face filled with surprise as his flashlight washed over Stephanie and me. You two again! How did you get in? What are you doing here? He let us in, I answered, pointing at Seth. Otto turned back to Seth and shook his head unhappily. More of your tricks? Were you scaring these kids? Not really, Uncle Otto, Seth replied, keeping his eyes on the ground. Wait, so I knew he wasn't going to be the ghost just because of how ridiculous he was, or at least I hoped he wasn't just because of how dumb it was. But he is a thespian. He did not break character even when they fell through a goddamn wall. They could have possibly gotten their heads smashed in by like falling stones and everything, but no, he was still, give me your head. Oh my god. Uncle Otto? So Seth was Otto's nephew? No wonder he knew so much about Hill House. Tell the truth, Seth, Otto insisted. Were you pretending to be a ghost again? And you two, didn't the fucking genes tip you off that maybe the kid wasn't from over 100 years ago? The genes that say Levi on the back very clearly? Dumbasses. What about the Skechers? Were Skechers from 100 years ago? Seth stood silent. Otto rubbed his hand back over his smooth bald head. Then he let out a weary sigh. We have a business to run here, he told Seth. Do you want to scare my customers away? Do you want to get the whole neighborhood upset? Seth lowered his head and didn't reply. It's okay, Otto, I said. He didn't scare us. I mean, he nearly got us killed, but he didn't scare us. He didn't fool us for a minute, I replied. Especially when we saw a real ghost, Stephanie added. Otto turned to her, studying her in the light of the flashlight. The what? The real ghost, Stephanie insisted. We saw a real ghost, Uncle Otto, Seth exclaimed. It was awesome! Otto rolled his eyes. Save the joke, Seth. It's too late at night. You're just trying to get out of trouble. No, really, I insisted. Really, Seth and Stephanie cried. We saw a headless ghost, Uncle Otto. You gotta believe us, Seth pleaded. Sure, Otto muttered. He turned and motioned with his flashlight. Come on, everyone out. Chapter 32. After our scary night at Hill House, Stephanie and I gave up haunting the neighborhood. I'm sure the neighborhood was so happy about that. Because I'd be like, finally a good night's sleep without kids thinking that they're scary bothering me in the middle of the night. It just wasn't that exciting anymore, especially since we seen a real ghost. We stopped sneaking out at night. We stopped peeking into kids' windows in scary masks. We stopped hiding behind bushes and howling like werewolves. So you gave up voyeurism, good for you. It's not really a healthy hobby to have. Stephanie and I found other things to be interested in. I tried out for the basketball team at school and became a starting forward. Stephanie joined the theater arts club. This spring, she's going to be Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz. Either Dorothy or a Munchkin. I don't remember. I kind of feel like you would... I'm sure she would have told you. Jesus. We had a good winter. Lots of snow. Lots of unscary fun. Then late one evening, we were heading home from a birthday party. It was the first warm spring night of spring. Tulips were blooming in some of the front yards as we passed. The air smelled fresh and sweet. I stopped in front of Hill House and gazed up at the old mansion. Stephanie stopped beside me. She read my mind. You want to go in, don't you, Dwayne? I nodded. How about taking the tour? We haven't been there since... My voice trailed off. Hey, why not? Stephanie replied. We climbed the steep hill. Tall weeds brushed the legs of my jeans as I made my way to the front door. The huge old house stood as dark and creepy as ever. As Stephanie and I climbed to the front stoop, the door creaked open, as it always had. We stepped into the small front entryway. A few seconds later, Otto bounced into view, dressed all in black, a friendly smile on his round, bald head. You two! He exclaimed. He never learned these kids' names because he keeps calling them you two. Or maybe he's just really into the band. Could you take us on the tour? I asked Otto. I gazed into the front room. No other customers. He smiled his toothy smile. Of course, wait, I'll get my lantern. Otto took us around Hill House. He gave us the complete tour. It was great to see the house again, but it no longer held any secrets for Stephanie and me. After the tour, we thanked Otto and said goodnight. We were halfway down the hill when a police car pulled up to the curb. A dark uniformed officer stuck his head out of the passenger window. What are you kids doing up there? He called. Stephanie and I made our way down to the police car. The two officers eyed us suspiciously. We just took the tour, I explained, pointed up to the Hill House. Tour? What tour? The officers demanded gruffly. You know, the haunted house tour, Stephanie replied impatiently. The officer stuck his head farther out the window. He had blue eyes and freckles all over his face. What were you really doing up there? He asked softly. We told you, I said shrilly. Taking the tour, that's all. Behind the wheel, the other policeman chuckled. Maybe the tour, or maybe a ghost gave them a tour, he told his partner. There are no tours, the freckle-faced officer said, frowning. There haven't been any tours in that house for months. Stephanie and I both uttered cries of surprise. The house is empty, the police officer continued. Shut down. There hasn't been anyone in there all winter. Hill House went out of business 3 months ago. Huh? Stephanie and I exchanged startled. What? You're telling me that a house that they did nothing with and just did boring ass tours didn't last? That's surprising. Stephanie and I exchanged startled glances. Then we both gazed up at the house. The gray stone turrets rose up into the purple-black sky, nothing but darkness all around. And then I saw a trail of soft light across the front window. Lantern light, orange and soft as smoke. In the soft light, I saw Otto and Edna. They floated in front of the window. I could see right through them, as if they were made of gauze. They're ghosts too, I realized, staring into the soft, smoky light. I blinked, and the light faded out. So, were they ghosts the whole time, or were they both him and Edna died? Again, this is one of those endings where they're like, well, shit, usually we have a twist, and the one that we did come up with was kind of lame. Let's add a nonsensical, boring one at the very end. Now we have 2 boring twists in one. Woo! So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed the tale of the haunted ghost. And the end of the book lets you know that there's a second haunted mask book, which I forgot existed. But that's right, it's the little brother, right? Or did they completely forget about that switch? Wait, what is this? What is this supposed to be? The headless ghost. Oh, okay. I was like, wait, this has a chapter 1. It's just a sneak peek for the Haunted Mask 2. So, it's raining cats and dogs outside in the apocalyptic world, as you can see, and it looks like my neighbor's still awake. Maybe he's also listening to the Goosebumps book. Then there's a guy farther down over there, or is that just a street light? I can't tell. But I got interrupted because of work. Hey, it happens. Don't beat yourself up about it. Like I said, I don't put the brain. I don't put commercials or ads in my streams, so you guys can listen through them without being interrupted. So you listen to them while you sleep. Because I know I can't do that when I'm you can't do that when I'm playing horror games because I scream every once in a while. And trying to float to sleep is probably not something you can do there. Well, I should probably go and double check the barricades and make sure no zombies is gonna get in. And I will see you guys this next week. I won't be able to do anything, but the following week I should be able to do another stream. Maybe I can finish up Psychonauts. I don't know yet, but I will find out soon enough. And hopefully I'll get the Candyman video out before the end of this month, since I normally take January's off just to kind of decompress a little bit. Alright, so let me... Oh my god, it never ends. So I'm going to go ahead and end the stream. Everybody, good night, and thank you for stopping by. I'll see you next week after.